message is being broadcast by the Department of Defense of the Republic. At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects were confirmed to have entered Earth's atmosphere.
Discovery Houston, 20 seconds to LOS speed rescue.
Contact, nice to be in orbit.
The first message that comes to you is you are a divine being. You matter. You count. You come from realms of unimaginable power and light, and you will return to those realms.
The vast stretches of the unknown and the unanswered and the unfinished still far outstrip our collective comprehension.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Root.
Broadcasting from a shack on a hill in the Mossy Creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. This is Lighting the Void, and I'm your host, Joe Root. Thank you for joining us tonight. It is Thursday night, February the 6th on into the 7th, and our guest tonight is author, podcaster, and spiritual guide. Amelia Karris is back after a long time, so it's good to have her back. I want to really thank you guys for coming out tonight, and I apologize about last night's show. We had a sickness that just went around, and that really hurt because I hadn't got to talk to Daniel Joseph in a long time, and I missed out on that, but we did reschedule it. We're working on rescheduling it, so he will be back on the show. So you guys can call in any point in time tonight at 1-800-588-0335. Probably want to wait till the second part if you want to call in. And you can join the Fringe FM chat if you go to thefringe.fm/chat. There's a chat room in there, and it's a Discord chat. And make sure that when you go in, you're going to go into the welcome room, and then there's a thing that just says the rules, and all you got to do is find the hashtag main hall, and that's how you get in. And that's where you'll see everybody at. And we chat there like 24/7. Don't let it fool you, man. Discord's like the thing now. It's what's happening, and it's fun, and that's where all the cool people hang out. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors at GetTheTea.com right now. They've got a fantastic sale going on. You can get 2 bags of tea and a moringa leaf, a bottle of moringa leaf for $75. That is one hell of a deal. Also, Heart Love for $23. That's what you need right now with all this stuff going on, this virus stuff, coronavirus, whatever it is. I don't know what it is. I mean, they shut the schools down here where my son goes to school, and they have never done that for any reason. Of course they shut it down for like weather and stuff, but they've never shut it down for sickness. So this is like a first time I've ever seen this happen. And I've got some reports and stuff I need to go over with some of this virus stuff. I don't want to contribute to fear, but I don't want to bury our heads in the sand about this either. I mean, this thing looks like it's man-made. There's no doubt about it. So I want to get all my facts and ducks in a row before I go blabbing about it online, okay? But we're going to continue with our talks about the energies that have been happening and going on with us. The perfect person is with us tonight. Amelia Karris is to talk about that. So also ancientlifeoil.com. The only CBD oil you need to be getting is at ancientlifeoil.com. And metaphorical archaeology. If you've had a paranormal experience that's caused you trauma or post-traumatic stress, please give Barbara a call at 214-995-3754. The EFT practices that she does is helping a lot of people. Also, it's very discreet, and she comes from a very loving nature, so you'll enjoy that too. Head over to UFOseekers.com, backed and supported by the Fringe FM. Always go there if you want to keep a journalistic approach. At UFO Seekers on Twitter and youtube.com/UFO Seekers. If you've had a sighting, give them a call at 661-UFO-7889. All right. So I was talking to Amelia before the show, and it's been a long time since she's been on here. That shouldn't happen. All right, but we're gonna fix that. And if you've never heard of Amelia Karris, our website for reference tonight is knowtheself.com. .com. Okay, that's the website. And Amelia gives direct energetic transmissions that align you to the true nature of your soul that will radically shift your experience of reality. And that's what she's done for me too. And a lot of people have taken her courses. A lot of people have gone on her retreats. She's been on this show. She's been on Fade to Black. She's been on a ton of podcast shows. And she's also author of Synchronicity, Unlock Your Divine Destiny. And again, the website is knowtheself.com. Amelia, it's good to have you back. It really is.
So good to be here, Joe. And hello, everyone. It's really nice to be back. It's been way too long.
Yeah. Where did you go? You just went off the... I mean, you don't have to tell us where you went, but you disappeared.
I disappeared. I went on a long sabbatical. I ended up wintering in Mexico and then decided to make it my residence after an unfortunate death of my best friend. And it's been almost a year to the date of her passing, and I feel like I'm coming out of my shell, coming out of I just needed time. I needed to retreat. I needed a much longer vacation than I thought. And it's been a lot of integrating and restructuring the school and my work, and just giving myself the time. She died really young. She was only 37, and it was like a rare form of cancer, very aggressive. And it just really shook me because she was a social justice warrior, and we were very similar, very close, more like sisters. And it was shocking to just watch her pass so quickly, and we're so similar in how we worked. And I've been watching a lot of my friends sort of crash and burn from working and giving and serving too much, too strong, and I have that tendency. So I just took a huge time out and been integrating and restructuring my life. But I'm back.
That's healthy. I mean, though, seriously, though, that's something we all should learn a little bit. I mean, is how to take care of ourselves spiritually and energetically better, right? I mean, this whole thing's about energy. And, I've learned myself, and especially from what you've taught me, is we do ourselves a big disservice when we know that we need to recover, right? We need to recover and we don't. We just keep pushing, either emotionally or whatever. It's all energy, right? And if we don't compensate for that, or if we don't take a time out, it can really do some damage on us,
Huge damage. It's like the self-sabotage program that we've all been given that just kind of runs us into the ground. I mean, it's a big part of our culture and the way things run, and the hustle and the feeling like we can't take a vacation or we can't afford to take time off. I mean, everybody has that story, and it's bullshit, really. It's a fear program to keep us enslaved, and I was just tired of it. And I think even though I teach, sustainable life balance and all of that, I teach it because I've had a tendency to be a workaholic. I lost my father in 2003. He was a workaholic, and it was really tragic. He had a horrid death, and I was with him throughout the whole thing. And it changed me then. It changed the direction of my life, and I went into sustainable work and went back to school and studied ecology and sustainability, and because I was on the same trajectory he was, of just like running companies, and my life was my work, and I've always been very mission driven. But I see so many people who use their work and their purpose in the world, or even just work as an escape of a living, like we don't really know how to enjoy life, especially Americans. So I've spent a lot of the last few decades of my life outside of the U.S., and I prefer it because other cultures kind of know how to relax more and live more simple lives, and that fear and that constant grind is not a part of the culture in Mexico. I mean, they work hard, but they also know how to relax, like siestas.
Yeah, So if you guys want to,
siestas and fiestas.
if you guys want the up and up on Amelia's Mexico stuff, all you got to do is listen to Love, Sex, and the Hidden Agenda. Listen to her brag about that, and then you can hear Jennifer. And sometimes, I mean, I would chime in. I mean, not, Satya chime in. And sometimes I would chime in too and be like, you got to stop bragging, right? Like, seriously, you got to stop bragging because, you know, one day, I swear on the podcast, you were talking about something about, it's just disturbing sitting here on the beach looking at everybody's hot bodies. Like, I'm getting tired of it, really. Like, you were seriously complaining about it. And we were like, well, yeah, I bet that's awful, right? It's terrible.
I know, like bragging that I'm in an AC room right now while you're freezing.
Yeah, and a lot of people, see, there you go again, right now, bragging about it.
I'm sorry, Joe. I can't help it.
But a lot of people really liked your podcast. And, you know, I want everybody to know, too, that was not easy for you to do. There was a lot of talks beforehand, in between episodes. It was a very spiritually uplifting time for everybody involved, even the listeners. I mean, it was a big deal. It really was. I just want you to know that.
Yeah, well, it transformed my life. It was a huge part of my healing. And for those of you who don't know, Love, Sex, and the Hidden Agenda, we aired for 1 year. We did 28 episodes, and we have taken a short sabbatical, which has been a little bit longer than I thought. I guess our last episode was released in November, was it, Joe?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, November. So we're still working some stuff out. It was just super triggering. I mean, I think all three of us just really had to process so much around love, sex, and the hidden agenda in our personal lives. And I was sharing so much of my own stories, which, you know, I haven't really shared with anyone, let alone to the public. So there was a consequence to that. And, but it's been really rewarding. And I feel like the fruits of our hard work are still, coming to life and serving my life. And I keep getting emails from people. So that's been fun to see how it's affecting others.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got more fans than you probably think about. That, you know, it was something that I told Amelia and Satya this. I was like, listen, if you can be brave enough to be vulnerable on the air, you're going to relate to people. But honestly, I had no idea that you were going to really go for it. Most people don't go for it. It was inspiring, actually. You know, most people don't. Mm-hmm. They're afraid to do that. But what happens is because you did that, and it touched a lot of people, and it's going to continue to do that. That's why I recommend people do podcasts, especially if you're on a spiritual journey, right? I mean, just put it out there, see what people say.
Yeah, and for anyone who's listening and doesn't know what we're talking about, go to lovesexagenda.com and you can catch all the episodes and catch up. I had a friend of mine here in Mexico just tell me she finished listening to the whole series. And I was like, oh my God, you listened to every single one of them. She said, yeah, while I'm working, while I'm cleaning the house, I play them. And so I think this sabbatical that we've taken from the podcast, like the integration timeout, is helping people catch up. So if you missed out, go listen to and you'll know what we're talking about here. But
let me tell you two guys something too, real quick. The energy behind that podcast was incredible. Like it was almost like you were narrating our lives, if that makes any sense. And you could see as we were discussing these things, and I tried not to talk, honestly. As a producer, you don't want to talk. You want to sit back and talk, but there were times when I had to, you know, for certain
your
reasons.
voice was needed. It was really needed.
And it caused things to happen in all our lives that were involved that needed to happen, for sure. Absolutely needed to happen. And that's something I want to talk to you about. And I'm glad you're here, because we've been talking about this throughout the week, and I can't think of a better person to talk about this Actually, you got a really cool blog on your website at knowtheself.com where you talk, it's your moon blog, where you talk about some of the things that we're going to be going through and transitioning, because you keep up with astrology and the energy of the planets and the moon and stuff. And so based on what you've seen, just let's just say this past month or two since Christmas, what have you seen? What's been going on?
Yeah, it's exciting. I feel like 2020 has brought this like immense energy behind it. Like, can you believe we're at 2020? Like, when did that happen, right? This is like the year of the future that, you know, sounded so far away not that long ago. But here we are at 2020, and I feel like there's this masculine energy that's rising right now. It's healing. That's what I'm most focused on and excited about, is that the men are really like, the work is, for so long all the focus was on the females, like female empowerment, feminism, women rising into leadership, equal pay, and then it was, you know, all on the people who've been kind of held down and suppressed, the people of minority, people of color. The disenfranchised are starting to find their voices. Like, all this energy has been going towards the oppressed. But there hasn't been a lot of focus or conversation around white men, except blaming and finger pointing around the patriarchy, as this patriarchy is sort of crumbling in front of our eyes. And what I'm so excited about is that the conscious men are rising up, and I think they need a lot of support, and I think they need to know that it's safe to step forward. And I think that their healing and their pain has been hidden from the conversation. It hasn't been addressed much, because the other pains and wounds seemed bigger or louder or something. And because we've all been so oppressed by this sort of white male patriarchy, that we haven't been nurturing the pain of the white men who are good men. and all men, right? Like, not just white men, but like they're not all bad men. And I'm to blame for some of that, because I've been so oppressed by the patriarchy and what I kind of refer to as the white man. Like, they've been my oppressors and abusers.
Yeah, right.
The man, right? The big Uncle Sam or whoever, this white god also, and the corporate CEO, you know, like all these.
Well, I mean, I don't mean to cut you off there, but I can tell you for sure, being, especially when I went to Portland, right? Like, being a white single male isn't nice, you know, to just being that to some people is like, I have to watch every little thing I do or say, because some people, you know, even men included, don't take things right. And what happens, I think, is the pendulum swings so far, like when women's rights and all this stuff kind of really pushed really hard, I think, since the 60s and up till now. This big fight has caused the pendulum to swing so far out that we're trying to come back to center, which I think you're right, where it's causing the super alpha males out there to be put in check a little bit, just a little bit. Enough to where you say, hey, you need to be put in check. You know, there's a difference between aggression and assertion. And also, you know, it's okay to let everybody know that you have emotions too. That's fine. That's fine. You know, and be fair about it.
Yeah, and I see that there's this empathic man rising, like yourself, Joe, like men that are carrying strength, but they're also carrying their emotions and their deep feelings. They're not afraid to be vulnerable. They're not afraid to cry. They're not afraid to emote, and they're not afraid to love and to respect women. They're not all bad guys. And I think for myself, part of what I learned from our podcast actually is, it was hard for me to find good men for so long because of my upbringing, because of my programming and all the things that happened to me. I was attracting perpetrator. Like it just was on this loop. And I just didn't think there were good men or men that had capacity to meet me in the levels that I wanted to be met, or in the level of consciousness and the level of love and the level of respect and integrity and clarity.
Yeah,
and
you went through some pretty hard stuff. Let's be honest. I mean, there were guys that put on a mask for you that had you convinced that that's who they were, all the way up to the point where you would truly trust them, and then took advantage of you. It was awful. I mean, I don't see the fact that you're healing from that is incredible to me, because I wouldn't trust anybody after something like that, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, it wasn't easy, but I think that podcast was the missing piece. I was so fed up because with all the things that have happened to me, of course there were long periods of time where I didn't trust anybody, and I couldn't live like that. It was miserable. It was a horrible way to be. It was like a feeling of paranoia. And the thing was, my paranoia kept getting confirmed. You know, there's a lot of sick people in the world, and a lot of people there's a lot of narcissism. There's a lot of psychopaths out there, and they do find people who've already been wounded to keep victimizing them. And I couldn't see how I was enabling that or inviting them in, because it was happening too often. I was like, why does this keep happening to me? Why do I meet all this sick people? Like, how do I get fooled? Like, am I that gullible? And I started really researching myself and going through every relationship and following every synchronicity and like tracking, putting all the pieces together of my crazy life. And for those of you who don't know my story, you'll have to hear the podcast. I share some of these stories in more detail, but what I'm seeing now is that the more healing that I do, I've been so committed to healing this, and I don't want to live in paranoia. I don't want to live in the distrust. I don't want to live with a lack of love or without being able to express love, because that is my nature, is to love and to trust. But I've had to become so discerning and really teach myself how to align the parts of me that I genetically inherited, that I received from all the levels of abuse that I witnessed and experienced. I had to recapitulate all those pieces back into myself, and then align. And right at the end, and one of the reasons I took a break from the podcast is because I did find someone who I am in relationship with now, who I find so healthy and refreshing.
Isn't that something?
And, yeah, it's really a new experience. I'm so used to being with guys who were so wounded and needing special care. They'd be special. You know, they would, of course, have some gifts, and we'd have all these synchronicity and magical connections, but we also shared a deep, similar wound.
Which causes a mirror. That's exactly what I went through. It causes a mirror to happen, which causes conflict a lot of times, I think, you know. It's good for healing, though, I think.
Yeah, and I think for those of us who are so empathic, like you and me, and many of you probably listening and interested in this kind of content, we tend to understand people's pain so well that we can love people regardless of how sick they are. Like, maybe other people wouldn't put up with it.
Right.
And because we're so sort of like tantric in the way that we love. It's an unconditional love. That we tend to attract people that aren't at the same frequency or aren't living in integrity the way we are, or that we hope to be met in. And so we enable them in a way by accepting I don't want to call it a defect, but the bad behavior, right? Like if someone has, we all have issues. It's not like anyone's perfect, and we all have wounds, and we all have traumas.
Yeah, but I see what you're saying. I think we get a little obsessed with trying to heal it. I think when it doesn't want to be healed. We stay in relationships
too long. Yes, because we think that we can handle it, or we understand why they're acting out, why they're passive aggressive, why they're narcissistic, why they have these tendencies, why they're bipolar. Like we can understand these things, and then we end up kind of getting abused a little bit in it, and then people can stay in them a little bit too long.
Yeah. In my case, all your friends or family are like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you putting up with that?" You know, exactly. And you're like, "You don't know the whole story. I've got a reason." Back together, yeah, right.
And you're like, "Well, you don't understand. Our connection is so deep."
Yeah, right.
It's like, no, you're empathizing with them, and they're not planning on getting better. And for me, I have a sibling who was a compulsive liar, still is a compulsive liar, who is an addict, who is highly dysfunctional, who's bipolar. Like, if you have family members like that, then you attract that, right? Like, I have family members who are narcissistic, who are psychopaths. And so I know how to love that kind of person just by default. Like, I can see beyond the sickness, and I can see the wound, and I can explain to you why they are the way they are. But that's not a good partner for me.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And I think, when you asked what I'm seeing this year is, I think that, this divine masculine energy is really rising. Like, a lot of men are pretty upset about the state of the world, like everyone else. And they're finally using their white privilege and their impeccable integrity to do something about it. And I think that we need these men to start leading by example in a really positive way. And I think because of the outcry of the women and the minorities, more and more men are realizing that, like you said, you have to be like of the utmost integrity almost to be liked or to be respected, because so many people are so angry.
Man, yeah, that is so true. Yeah, we got to take our break here, but I was constantly being checked like that. There's no way what you're saying is right, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll figure it out. But we're going to talk a little bit more about how these energies play against each other and what Amelia's got to share with us, as well as what's coming towards us with the movements of the planets and the moon, too. Stay with us. Amelia Young Karris from knowtheself.com is here. That's the website for reference. We'll be right back.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to The Fringe FM.
This is Corbin, son of the one and only Joe Root, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
I think by now we can get the information.
I love magic, and on Lighting the Void, each and every week, you will get to hear shows about magic, mysticism, and many other subjects that stretch your mind and imagination. So when I got my mind on the magic and the magic on my mind, I listened to Lighting the Void on the Fringe FM. It's magic.
May the gods look with favor upon you.
You're wondering what we're going to do to you, aren't you?
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or to speak with a trained consultant. Give Angioprim a call at 954-882-7221. That's 954-882-7221.
Okay, here we go. AncientLifeOil.com. AncientLifeOil.com. Now, this is for CBD. AncientLifeOil.com. Again, for CBD. Where do I get CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. It's pretty good stuff. Organic, non-GMO. We are the Ferrari of CBDs. AncientLifeOil.com. You know, they say when you mention a person's name 3 times when you first meet, that you're going to remember. So I'd say to you, nice to meet you, AncientLifeOil.com. It's AncientLifeOil.com, right? Nice to know that you help people. AncientLifeOil.com. Think about this. Occasional stress, occasional anxiety, occasional inflammation, occasional stiffness, and intruders that get you down. AncientLifeOil.com. Okay, so I'm going to give you a fact for the day. So Ancient Life Oil does not help you with business deals. Hold on a second. If you feel better, it could help you make a better decision. Okay, I'm wrong. Just remember to go to AncientLifeOil.com.
Hey, Fringe listeners, this is Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange Radio, asking you to join us live Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. Pacific Time, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Fringe FM. Visit BeyondTheStrange.com for links to chat, social media, and schedules of the show. And remember, always stay strange. Hasta.
Alright everyone, this is Justin from the UK. Excuse the chitty. If you're into the Fringe and you want to hear the brass tacks, my old china plate, Joe Roop and his guests on Lighting the Void will open your mince pies. You need to shut your north and south and use your 10-speed gears and listen to them bubble. You could hear a Barry Crocker, no Brussels, but he ain't no holy friar. Anyway, you beat a Barnaby Rudge and take a butcher's.
If you would like to text, you can text in at 501-777-5631.
All right, Amelia and Karris is our guest tonight on Lighting the Void. Tomorrow night we're going to do open lines, and I also want to mention that we are indeed going to be doing the auction for the Night Stalker. So I believe it's next Friday, we're going to have a Valentine's E-Date auction for the Night Stalker. So all of you girls, you're going to get your bids up, and we have a nice night of dinner and a movie with the Night Stalker himself. And we're going to take all of those proceeds to get his new equipment so we can get him on the news team for the Night Stalker News. That's going to be fun. So save your money. That way you can bid. All right. I think we're going to take, I don't know how many bids we're going to take, but that's what we're going to do for Valentine's Day. It's fun. I'll get the flyer up as well. So, but in the spirit of what we're talking about tonight with Amelia and Karris, who's with us, and thank you again for joining us late night, because I know you're not much of a late night person. I know you're not, but it's cool to have you here, though.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
Now, as we were going into the break, you were talking about the patriarchy and how men are starting to step up and stuff. And, there's this guy that I like. His name's Jordan Peterson. Some people don't like him because he's kind of an alpha male or whatever, but he does have some good speeches that talk about how men, it's kind of backwards the way we're taught, right? Because so we're raised in this patriarchy kind of system. We're raised to be overly aggressive and not assert. Not really, but that's what happens. We get overly aggressive, not assertive enough, and totally walled off emotionally. When what should happen is when we're in balance, we should be more assertive, because most men, if you think about it at your nature, that's what you want to be, is assertive, not aggressive, but assertive. And also be emotionally open when it's necessary. And I can tell you from experience that we're taught to bottle all that stuff up, which causes aggression, it causes bad behavior, and it causes an imbalance. And I think what I'm trying to say, Amelia, maybe you can touch on this, is deep down, I think all men are kind of afraid to be and act how they really feel on the inside and how they really feel emotionally, and I guess at their core, when really that's who they are. And it should be okay to be that way instead of stuffing everything, you know.
Absolutely. And the consequence of that for the female who's in relationship with a man who's stuffing their emotions is that we think that they can't feel, and we start imagining that they're so tough and they don't have feelings. And it's can't be further from the truth. Like, I think what I've found over the years is that men are extremely sensitive, and sometimes I think more sensitive than females. And the slightest thing, the slightest look, the slightest words can really crush a man much faster than I think most females get wounded. And I didn't know that. I didn't realize, because of their inability to emote, I think that women have gotten louder and stronger and harsher because we're demanding to be understood. And so we've become this aggressor almost to the men. And what I've learned, it's just through really the last couple of years in expressing like my anger, even just starting the podcast and really being triggered, like, okay, I'm done with this victim perpetrator dynamic. I started to see that men are so fragile, like really fragile. But we never know that because they have stronger bodies and they look so tough and they know how to numb out. And we don't know how to numb out. Like our cycles and our body don't allow us to numb out.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, right? Like, just because we can pick up a diesel tire and throw it doesn't mean that we're not like big teddy bears on the inside. But I think that would level out if we would be. I mean, you guys taught me that when I was producing your podcast. I'm not afraid to say it. You know, there were times when you wanted me to make a decision and I just didn't do it. Both you and Satya. And I started to pick up on the hints after a while. I was like, they're asking me to be assertive.
We need you.
They're asking me to be assertive. And see, I've also learned this in relationships too. Like, if a girl likes you or something, she will help you out. She's not going to tell you what to do, but she's trying to help you. Now, that she shouldn't have to do that to begin with, but she's trying to help you say something or do what you want to do. And deep down, the funny thing is like, deep down, all I wanted to do was be like, just do this and this and this, and then that's how it'll get done. But I didn't want to come off as a jerk because I was afraid of the feminine backlash, right? You know?
Yeah.
So the pendulum needs to come back to the middle is what I'm saying.
Exactly. And then what I've experienced here is like, for example, the guy I'm with now, I didn't even know I was interested in him or liked him. He was a friend of mine, but he wasn't making any advances on me. And I've never experienced that before. He was just a friend for a very long time, a very good friend. And I built trust with him, and I didn't even realize that he was interested, and I had to go through this whole process of falling in love with him on my own, which was strange. And and ask, like, tell him. I had to tell him. And it was sort of like, well, what are you waiting for? Like, I'm waiting for you to
You're waiting for him to do something, huh?
Yes, and he said, you know, in his culture, and for him, he won't do that. He respects the woman, and he waits for the woman to decide. He's never going to push himself on a woman. And that was just like such a shock to me, because I've never experienced it. I had never experienced that before.
But see, I've always been that way too, though. I've never, when I was younger, I would, but I learned my lesson, honestly. Like, because I would get too pushy, and I'm still a little too pushy. I have to watch it. I guess it's my Aries nature, you know. But I've learned to just like chill out, you know, when it comes to, because feminine energy, right? Feminine energy to me, from what I'm learning, is kind of like the wind, or that sound like that song. She's like the wind. That's so cheesy. It's more like it's more like but it is. It's like a male energy is like, it should be like a mountain, and a woman is like the wind. You know, so they kind of go with their emotion, and you can't push them to do anything. If they leave, if you chase them, that's going to be even worse. And if they come back, then you just got to stay there and let them do their thing. You know, but if you're a man and you're not in your masculine energy, and the wind comes back, and there's no wall to go up against, so to speak, that makes them feel even more weird. The last thing you want is a woman or a feminine energy not to feel safe, right?
Yeah.
That's the last thing you want.
And the women are so programmed to be hunted down like prey, and that's why we attract all the bad boys. Or, you know, like, so many good men are like, well, I really like this woman, but she only likes bad boys. I know my ex-husband used to always laugh at me. He's like, you only like bad boys. And it's true. Like, I've always attracted bad boys because they come to me. I had never decided I liked a guy and gone after him, ever. This is the first guy I've been with where I really fell in love with him just as a friend.
Yeah. I mean, at first, as a male, you got to do something, right? But you can't be too pushy. It's really fun. I swear to God, y'all, it's fun. Any guys that are listening, if you can just learn about it and then do it, you'll start to learn that it's in your nature. But just don't expect like every girl out there to like you. I don't think you can get in and really start having fun with this stuff when it comes to dating as a man until you're super okay with rejection. And a lot of dudes are not. They're afraid of that. But you have to understand.
Nobody is. Nobody likes rejection. That's what it really comes down to.
But why though? Like
the women don't like it either. That's why they don't put themselves out there and like go after the guys so much. You know, like the feminine sort of wants to be conquered, but then it's turned into this twisted distortion, which is the patriarchy, right? So it's like part of it is, yes, we like to be conquered in a way. We like to be ravished and sort of commanded, but we want to stay free and independent, and we have our opinions. We want to be heard. We want to be respected, right? So it's that pendulum swing. And I think now we're coming into a place where there needs to be safety on both sides. I think everybody's been abused. Like the amount of men I've met who have trauma from women is just as high. They just don't talk about it like the women do. Right. There should be a Me Too movement for the guys. Like the amount of female abuse out there towards men and the levels of emasculation and flat out emotional abuse towards men is huge.
Yeah, there's this new thing out now that you guys need to be aware of, and you need to look for the signs. It's a specific type of narcissism that you need to watch out for, and it really gets to men big time, is sexual narcissism. You need to watch out for it. Because they'll really play towards what'll happen is they'll really play towards the anima in you. Let's just say the anima, the love bomb in a sexual way, right? And then their next mission is to demasculate you. That's their next mission, is to get you to not like yourself, demasculate you, make you question every little move, and until by the time you're done with it, you're like a whooped dog, you know? You don't know what happened to you, and it's not easy to get over. And if you don't catch it before it gets really bad, I'm telling you, it's it's bad. It sounds kind of pathetic, right? Me talking about it. But what happens
it's true.
is real. It's very real. I've talked to a lot of dudes that went through this stuff, man. And I almost got caught up in it myself, but it's bad. And here's the funny thing, and you can agree or disagree with me, this one, Amelia, but I think if you actually come into your true masculine power, like what divine masculinity is, you won't allow that to happen to you. It won't happen.
Yeah, we all need really strong boundaries of what's appropriate and not appropriate behavior. And I think because of our upbringings and our traumas, those boundaries have gotten all blown out, and we have to relearn them as conscious people.
Yeah. I can't thank you enough for teaching me about this, by the way, because I always thought, like, okay, yeah, Amelia is going to teach me about how the divine feminine is so much greater than the masculine and all this other stuff. And,
no.
But it wasn't that at all. It was like you were trying to say, hey, Joe, I know this is in you. Do it. Please, for the love of God. I feel extremely uncomfortable when you don't. That was the message that you were giving me, you know.
Oh,
like,
good.
Please,
I'm glad you got the message.
Please help me feel uncomfortable. This is your job as the masculine energy in this thing we're doing called this podcast, to help me feel comfortable, to feel safe, to give me a little bit of direction and guidance here. That's it. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah, we need strong male leadership. Like, I don't want a world only run by females. Like, so many feminists do, right? And I'm sure it would be a very different planet. But I actually really love male energy. I love their focus. I love the fact that they can be mountains and have clear vision, and they can cut through bullshit really quickly. They can crunch numbers in their head, and they can plan. They see the world differently than I do. And I really need that energy. It stabilizes me. It gives me a foundation for my creative spark and for what I bring to the table. I don't like when I see men that can't harness that masculinity.
Right.
It makes me sad. It breaks my heart. Like, I'm like, wait, but you're so strong. Like, just own it. Like, please, I need you to. And if they don't, then I will walk all over them, because it's like an invitation almost. It's because my purpose and my clarity is really strong, and men feel threatened by it. And if they can't stand in their own power and they keep yielding to me, well, it's like an invitation to manipulate them. And I have to always check myself, like, hey, don't do that, please. Like, I can check myself and realize that, okay, maybe this is my will over theirs. That's not correct use of energy. So I've learned over the years, but I was a business owner really young. Like, my first company was at 21, and by 24 I was really successful. So I didn't have any training. I was just managing teams, and almost all of them were all men. And I learned how to use my energy really strongly and focused, and I found a lot of men didn't.
Yeah, it kind of sucks though, right? Because a deep part of you doesn't really want to have to do that. I don't think.
No.
You don't want to.
But I would
do
it because there was a lack of it.
Right.
And I realized my father was very beaten down by my mother, my brother the same by my mother. She was not a nice woman, and I can see how they're like cower to the field. Like, they just go off into the man cave basically and do what they want outside of the view of the females, but they're not really asserting their energy in the household,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. And see, I was raised by a man that has been totally beaten down in relationships and believes that all women are just, that's the story I got growing up, man. It's like all women are just going to move on to the next best thing. They're going to stay with you until they realize they can do something better, and then they're going to move on to the next thing, just like your mother. That's why your mother did that. A lot
of women do that. Yeah, and a lot of women do that. And for me, it was like the story I got was like, this man, my father, doesn't have the capacity. Like, he's out of integrity. He's not focused enough. He's not holding it together. He's not here when we need him. And so I developed the capacity. The masculine in me got really strong. I had to start taking care of myself at a very young age. I've been living on my own since I'm 17 and have never, since 17, been taken care of by anyone else. Like, I've been self-sufficient. It was just I got thrown out into that. And I know so many guys that live with their families until their 30s and like they don't really know how to take care of themselves in the world. And so, of course, they're going to be threatened by me when I'm like, get your life together, dude. Like, I'm
still trying to get mine together, by the way, but I understand what you're saying.
No, but it's just a different upbringing, and it's the same wound from a different angle.
No, but you're right. That's what needs to happen. It just does. At least as long as you realize that at some point, realize.
Well, I think that's what. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I mean, as long as you realize it at some point before you turn 40, I don't know. I don't want to be the judge of that, honestly, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah, well, I'm getting close to 50, so it's been been a minute.
Hey, you look like you're 20-something. You can't be getting close to 50.
It's the ethers, no. Yeah, I am. So what I'm realizing, though, this year, what I love that I'm seeing is that the men are healing and the women are healing. And so we're finding ourselves not at these polar opposite, wounded, victimized poles, but we're coming into the center of like, okay, so I'm no longer the victim. I'm no longer the perpetrator. Like, I can heal that dynamic within myself enough. There's enough people doing the work on the planet that the collective is starting to find balance. And I think we're going to see more and more of that this year. I think right now the moon's going into Leo in a couple of days, and we're already feeling this effect that a lot of people are getting activated, wanting to like live the best life ever, really find their purpose in life, activate their missions. Yes, they're finding boundaries. There's an emotional surge of energy. It could be like blowing up in your relationships, like it's not serving me anymore. This isn't right. We're kind of striving for a perfection right now, which is unattainable, as is balance. Like, we don't arrive at perfection. We don't arrive at balance. It's a state of being. Like, it's that constant fluctuation and practice within the self first, like the self-governance, that brings us into bringing these two polar opposites into a dynamic dance within ourselves. And when we do that, we start being a humongous force for change in the world. Like, it changes our relationships, it changes our businesses and our families, our communities, and then, of course, there's a huge collective shift. And I think we're really seeing that speed up this year. It's exciting.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I've even had friends that I relate to because I'm more of an emotional guy. Like that, guys like me, we never cheat on our partners. We're always the ones that get left or dumped or something, because like you were talking about, we want to heal that person so bad we're willing to let them do whatever. Well, that's kind of changed. Even friends of mine that are like in their 60s. Now, we had one call in the show the other day that was like, man, I just cut this thing off. I couldn't do it no more. Like, really putting their foot down and stepping into their masculine, saying, you're not going to do this to me, or I can't put up with this.
Thank God. Yeah, so many people are terrified of being alone. like terrified of loneliness, and then they're terrified of change.
Yeah, change
like they're
and
just
loneliness.
like, well,
right.
I'll put up with it. And for everyone who's listening, please don't settle or put up with bullshit. Like, abuse is abuse.
That's right.
There's no excuse for abuse. There is no excuse for it. And I can't tell you how many times this week I have heard people on my sessions with them have excuses for flat out blatant abuse.
That's what abusers do. Like, that's what abuse victims do. They make excuses.
Feed off your empathy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And see, this is the whole thing I was telling you about during your podcast, right? That when I was explaining to you, and this was off the air, by the way, but you're like, will you please come on the show and talk about it? Well, I'm going to talk about it with you right now. Okay. Like,
yay.
So there's this thing called attraction that we all understand, and we think we understand it. Like when men see a woman that they like, they become attracted immediately, right? Wow, I'm attracted. Women, the bodies and stuff really help. They're kind of attracted that way, but it works a little bit slower. And this kind of attraction I'm talking to is typically when people say they're in love, right? Mm-hmm. This is the kind of attraction I'm talking about. And there are gurus out there that are, quote, gurus that are teaching both sides of, men and women how to act. It's all over YouTube. All you got to do is type it in. Best-selling authors, all kinds of stuff. How to act a certain way, do a certain thing, and, get what they want out of the deal. So when and I was telling you about this because you had met some guy that was acting a certain way, and the way he was doing it was so perfect. I was like, this guy's been trained. And you were like, what are you talking about? And I said, this guy's been trained. He's doing the steps on purpose. And a woman doesn't want to think, well, there's no way that someone can attract me like that because it doesn't work that way. But it does work that way. It's nature, and it's in the subconscious. It doesn't mean that you're categorized as somebody that gets blindsided. But think about this. And something you just said, most women that are abused by a man, that man to them resembled masculine energy, or at least better than what they're used to, and some type of bad boy nature, and then it flipped on them, right? And they become so attracted to the dude, they start making excuses for him. And then when they get abused by the guy, and the guy's narcissistic to him and really implants this stuff in their mind, they really start making excuses. And this is a problem. Right. So these gurus are going out training people to be this way. But this is another problem, I think, because I did this. When after I got married, I studied everything about women. I read romance novels. I took courses. I mean, we had homework assignments. I'm not playing. Like, I wanted to figure this thing out. But what happened, Amelia, is there was a part of me that, like the masculine energy, that it really felt good to be a certain way. But there was also the unique part of me that I wasn't allowing to come out, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think a lot of those programs are teaching people how to misuse their energy.
That's
and as
right.
you know, in my mistress school, I'm very big on right use of will and how not to manipulate others. It's the main tool I teach because I think that we're all victims of massive amounts of manipulation. And when we have Kundalini awakenings or we start coming into our power, it's very easy to misuse it. In fact, everyone falls into that trap. And anyone who's having a spiritual awakening and realizing the amount of magnetism that they are capable of, or when their magnetism starts growing, until they've healed all aspects of their wounds, they will misuse their energy. It's not maybe. They will misuse it. And for me, I've worked with master mystics, master shamans, gurus in India that have millions of followers, to high-level CEOs and some of the most powerful men on the planet, and they're all misusing their energy. And I watch how they manipulate people and use mind control and just get what they want. And I see females doing it constantly as well. The minute they realize how alluring and how they can charm and use certain powers to, like, you know, manipulate a situation. And I see children learning it. I mean, children learn that pretty young, like at 2-3 years old, how to manipulate. Like, it's just part of our human nature. And until we start deciding to be conscious and realize, like, oh, okay, like, we actually want to experience love. We want to experience the divine union. We want to experience some sort of balancing act and trust. We want to establish trust. Well, then you have to check yourself. And I think so many people are using this approach, which to me sounds super manipulative in the way
it is.
You know, it's like a formula, right?
That's right.
It has nothing. You throw out your unique expression or even your desire. Some people, they're just doing it to see if the formula works. Actually, it's funny you mentioned this because I have a really funny story that happened to me in a cafe here.
Well, can we take our break and then you can tell us that story?
Yeah,
for sure.
We'll come back for it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'll give you guys, just in case you're curious too, when we come back, I'll give you some names to go look at so you can see what I'm talking about on YouTube and stuff, all right? We'll be back with Amelia on Karris. This is going to get better as the time goes on. I know that. We'll be right back.
Listening to The Fringe FM. Do you want to know the truth? Are UFOs real? Are aliens visiting Earth? Are governments around the world hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO Seekers, official partner of The Fringe FM, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Join us as we investigate locations like Area 51 by subscribing on YouTube at youtube.com/UFO Seekers.
I'm Ryan Gable, and I want to remind you to keep your radio, phone, tablet, or computer tuned to the Fringe FM and visit the website thefringe.fm to listen to the entire lineup of shows. You can also catch my broadcast, The Secret Teachings, Monday through Friday, beginning at 12 a.m. midnight U.S. Pacific Time, right here on the Fringe FM.
You know, stress is at an all-time high, and all of us could use a little bit of stress relief. That's why I want to talk to you about Soothe. Now, this is an app you can download on your phone. They have a massage therapist that arrives with a massage table, sheets, lotion, oils, and music, and you're in charge. You can book in seconds and schedule at 8 a.m. to midnight. Massage 7 days a week, anytime it's available. There's a 60-minute arrival period. A vetted background-checked massage therapist will come to you in as little as an hour. All of the therapists are vetted by industry veterans that ensure a compassionate, healing touch. So maybe you're a little stressed and you need to feel spoiled. Well, there's no better way to do that than relax at your own home and not have to deal with the outside world with Soothe. Right now, you can get $10 off your first massage by putting in the code word FRINGE10 at checkout. That's www.soothe.com or download the Soothe app and put in the code word FRINGE10.
Alex. Hi, I'm Alex Exum, and you're listening to The Fringe FM. This is Reverend John M. Polk. Please visit me at johnpolkmedia.com and visit my show, Quantum Hologram Matrix, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, every Tuesday on thefringe.fm. Hey, Fringe FM listeners, did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Hola, Fringe listeners. This is Dave Cruz of Beyond the Strange, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void. Amelia Young Karris is our guest tonight, and we're going to hear her story. Before the break, I was talking about some of these. We're talking about the masculine and feminine energy, masculine, divine, feminine. Something we've been talking about all week here. And Amelia is bringing her knowledge to this too as well. And before the break, you were discussing like a story that happened to you in a cafe. So let's hear it, because it was a cliffhanger for me too. What happened?
Well, you were talking about the formula that, men learn on YouTube or whatever. And I feel like I was the victim of one. And you said it works on women. And I have to say, it didn't work on me, but it was so funny. So I'm sitting in this cafe. I live a few blocks from the beach. It's a really sunny day. It's like a indoor-outdoor cafe. I'm there with one of my best friends here, who happens to be drop dead gorgeous. I mean, she's really stunning. Like when we walk down the street, everybody's turning their head to look at her. She's really beautiful. And I'm sitting there, we both bring our laptops, and we work from this cafe kind of often. And so everyone in the cafe knows us, and it's like our office away from home. And some random guy is sitting at the table next to us, and it looks like he's on a coffee date with this girl. And the woman he was sitting with, my friend and I recognized her from the dance scene where we dance here. The Latin dances like salsa and bachata and all of that. And we recognized this girl from the dance scene, and we were like, oh, we keep seeing her at different cafes. I think she's actively dating. And we were sort of giggling because it looked like they had met for the first time, and they were kind of checking each other out. They probably met on some dating app. That was the story her and I had about this table next to us. And then they were there for, I don't know, an hour, and then obviously the date ended and they went their separate ways. Well, the guy didn't leave. He walked out of the cafe, and then he walked back, and I got up to do something. I don't know. I came back and I sat down, and he came straight up to me and he said, excuse me, I am so, how did he say it? I'm so breathtaken by you. You are stunning. And I don't normally do this, and I'm so sorry. And then he looks to my friend, excuse me for interrupting. I don't know what you guys are doing. I said, no, we're just working. And he's like, well, you take my breath away, and I don't know what it is about you, but I would be so honored if you would have lunch with me.
Honored.
He said, you take my breath away, and I would be so honored if you would meet me for lunch or have coffee with me or something. And I'm thinking, are you out of your mind? Weren't you just on a date? Like,
you caught him being I see what you're saying.
I mean, for me, it was completely, it was a script.
Yeah.
It sounded like a script, and I was thinking the whole time, I'm thinking, right, okay, guys, so you're really going to pass up my friend who is drop dead gorgeous. I mean, she really is. And I'm average, but she's really beautiful.
Yeah, but hold on a second. Maybe you're not giving yourself...
I saw it in a movie. Where there was a dating, I think it was some sort of like a guy teaching geeks, or maybe it was a Black Mirror. I don't even know where I saw it, but I remember laughing because it was like a bunch of geeks going to dating school, and like this guy had him webcam. He's like, don't go for the beautiful one. Go for her best friend who's more introverted and doesn't like attention. Go for her and give her the flattery, and then it'll work because she'll be so charmed that you're not going for the gorgeous one. No, it was completely a script. And
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Do you not think that it's possible that some guys could be more attracted to you?
If I was alone, it would have been different.
I don't know about that. Like, I mean, I know what you're saying.
I was laughing the whole time. He was not authentic. It wasn't real.
You
I
could
read him.
You could feel it. Okay.
Yes, it wasn't real. And I laughed so hard, but I'm in a relationship now, so I had that excuse. But I was like, I said, oh, that's really sweet, but no. And he was like, oh, I tried. And I could tell even with his rejection that he was actively practicing dating, and I had to give him props because that could not have been easy. I mean, it was such a bold move. And both of us were like, whoa, that was crazy bold. That was really, really bold of him. And he wasn't I can imagine if it was a bad boy kind of guy doing that, I would expect that from a guy like that. But this was a guy who looks like a computer programmer and like he's learning how to be super cool and sexy. Like he's taking advice from a bad boy.
Well, you know what's going to happen too is he's going to do that enough. His guru has told him to do that.
Yeah.
Not just to do that, but they'll tell you need to talk to 15, 20 women a day. It doesn't matter if you find them attractive or not.
It was a numbers game. I'm sure of it. That's what it felt like.
But also, I could definitely see, and don't tell your boyfriend not to get mad at me or anything, but I would definitely, if it was me and there was somebody there that was just way too hot and it was you, I always go for the more natural beauty. I do. And it's not because I don't want the super hot chick or anything. I think a lot of guys they know better, They know better.
Yeah, maybe I'm more approachable.
Yeah, well, you definitely seem more approachable, But
yeah, she's definitely way out of his league.
Yeah, so and you got to be able to take rejection too, and that's something about that I've always admired about the feminine energy is no matter what you do, no matter you could script it out, you could practice in the mirror 100 times. If it's not authentic and it's not confident, how about just authentic first? They can smell that like bees can smell fear. They know. So it's like, you could tell that there was something off and unauthentic about it. Right?
Yeah.
Totally.
And I knew he was doing this to a lot of women. He hadn't seen me long. He saw me for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. He could have been watching me, but he was on a date. So that was sort of like, dude, if you were alone and did that, you'd probably have a better chance. But the fact that you were on a date.
That's pretty bad.
And she leaves. Yeah, it was just tacky all around. But the thing was, the formula worked. Like I felt chosen. I felt seen. I felt special. And then he even said, I said, I'm sorry, I'm in a relationship. And he goes, well, tell your boyfriend that he's got to be an extremely lucky man. Like he and he was just so sincere with that. And it was just so touching that even my friend, the gorgeous one who was watching, she was like, oh my God, that was amazing. He's so bold. And wow.
It was brave of him, right?
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, it almost worked, but I can tell it's an act.
Oh, you should have. Well, I mean, but you're right. So if you guys, I'll wait till Amelia leaves to give you these names, by the way, because I don't want y'all going to look at it while we're talking about it. But I've got it down here. There's a few coaches out there, and there's actually one guy coach I really recommend. And the reason why I recommend the guy is because he's all about what you're talking about. He's all about real masculine energy and like really being yourself and really being authentic, regardless of what these other people formulas say, you know. And if there's somebody out there, I first off, there's this whole idea that being coached by somebody is a ripoff or something. You don't have to do that. That's just crazy. That's just crazy. There's teachers out there that really can help you. Like Amelia can really help you. It doesn't mean that she doesn't learn things too, or that she learns from her students all the time. But as far as an instructor, as far as spiritually goes, she really can.
Yeah, I'm not a dating coach, but I definitely help men harness their potential and their passion and like realign their energy so they're not misusing it. And that is my passion, is to help people really tune in and to stop abandoning the self. I think so many people, you know, they're so sick of their life. They don't like how it's going. They're not making enough money. They're not in a relationship that's satisfying. There's so many men out there suffering in horrible marriages that are terrified to leave them, and they don't know how to revive them. And in their work, they're stuck in their day job, or they've started their own business and they're a slave to it, and they're not getting the freedom that they want. They're not enjoying life. I love working with those kind of men that are really wanting to reignite and not be a slave or afraid of their
passion.
Carnal passion. Yeah. Like they're terrified that they're going to make the wrong move, or, you know, and I know, because power is scary. Our power that we contain within ourselves, when it's unleashed, we're not sure who we actually are, right? Like so many people, they stuff their anger, they stuff their sexuality, they find ways to numb it out through substances and through other kind of addictions, whether it's just like watching TV or porn or food or drugs or alcohol.
It's bad. Yeah, you're right. It's bad. And you know, it's
epidemic.
I think what really is like the most ironic thing about this is, and I don't know how to say this without being too out there, but I think if we all would just put our shame down for a second and come into what we really want and desire. Think about what you really want and desire. And the second you think about that, as a man, you think, oh, God, I should be ashamed of that. No woman out there is going to want that. Well, you're sadly mistaken, right? Mm-hmm. You're sadly mistaken. And I mean, I'm not talking about be a creep or anything, but just deep down, you want love, you want passion, you want adventure, you want great sex, you want all that stuff. And you think because you want these things that there's some type of shame, and it's built in all of us actually. But it's funny to me, the more I learn about this, because if both feminine and masculine come into what they're supposed to be divinely, right, they're going to get what they want, desire, and more. It's going to fill their soul. But it's the others, the shame and everything, and our misconceptions and judgments and abuse that's made us feel like, that keeps us unfulfilled, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. I mean, it is the shame of what's happened to us. So everybody has a sexual story. We all carry sexual shame. So whatever your first sexual experience was, it leaves strong imprints. And then if you have the next sexual experience, and people just get shut down. Like, my mother was so frigid in her marriage. Like, that's how I saw her. I saw a frigid woman who had so much abuse in her childhood that she was trying to control everyone. And the cost of that was that there was no love exchanged. There was no touch. There was no healthy love. There was a ton of neglect out of the fear of abuse, or, you know, like, she doesn't like to be hugged. She won't go get a massage. Like, that's that's shameful for her. Like, you're a slut if you do that.
Getting a massage. I hope she's not listening, because I just did a promotion for the Soothe app where masseuses come to your house. So
she's definitely not listening. This is like blasphemy for her. No, it's just ridiculous how programmed she was and how much it influenced me. Like, I knew it was crazy talk even as a child. Like, come on, like I actually had more empathy towards my dad. It was like, look what you're doing to this guy. He's such a lovely person, and he's so free with his hugs and his ability to love, and her ability to love was completely shattered by abuse in her childhood.
Yeah.
And her frigidity was abusive to my father, who had to live in probably a sexless, I mean, I don't know what their sex life was, but to me as a child, it looked sexless and my dad looked miserable. It looked like he needed connection, so he buried himself in his work and was never home or around the house. He just came home late, left early, made money, but he wasn't there because there was nothing there for him. And then eventually, after 25 years of this, had an affair, and then he was cast out as the evil man who ruined the marriage. And I was like, come on.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I was really angry at my mom. And then I was angry at my dad that he had to do that to leave. I'm like, why did you have to have an affair to leave? Like, you coward. Why didn't you just leave?
Yeah, see, I've always hated that too, man. Like,
but many people do that.
Most people do that, right? But it's still, I've never done that. But it doesn't mean I'm better than people. I just despise it.
Yeah, I do too.
I despise it. Like, if there's something wrong there, you need to communicate that. And if you're in a place to where you can't communicate that, then get the hell out anyways before you do that. Like, just just leave.
But people are terrified. They're terrified. I think my parents were so indoctrinated that divorce was, at that time, was so shunned upon. People just didn't get divorces. And if they did, they got excommunicated from the church. And I remember when my dad had the affair and got caught, they announced it in church in front of a 400-person congregation one Sunday morning. We were sitting there, and they called his name out and said, we need to pray for him, and he's having an extramarital affair, and he's basically like cast out of the church. Oh yeah,
he's the devil, right? Like, he's the worst person on the face of the earth.
Yes, and I just got up and left like,
I got it. I did it. I got to hit the button. I got to hit the button. The F-bomb was dropped and they didn't hear it. We have to talk a little bit faster while it builds up because it makes our voice sound really slow if we don't. But it's building up now. Nobody heard it. I let you get away with when you said the SH, but the F-bombs, come on, Amelia, you're the devil girl.
Yeah, I know. It's horrible, but... thank God that the church cast my father out, because it was so hypocritical for me, because I knew that these same pastors were pedophiles and cheating on their wives.
Absolutely.
They were just still married and they weren't caught yet. 25 years later, one of the pastors was in jail for pedophilia. So it's like they finally got caught, but 20 years later.
My God, poor man. See, that's
yeah.
But he should have just stepped up, and he should have stepped up and said, "Listen, woman, you ain't cutting it. We need to fix something like this way." Mm-hmm. You got two choices.
Yeah,
that's what I'd have said, but not really in those words. But like, communicate it. Let her know there's a problem there, and then if she don't fix it, or if he's not trying to fix it. See, that's another thing too. As men, like, I think we get this idea that there's supposed to be a 50-50 thing, always 50-50. And there is a 50-50 in a lot of situations. Sure, communication should be 50-50. Compromise should be. But I think when it comes to certain energies, a man should initiate things. And this is just me. There's probably a ton of dudes that are going to disagree with me out here. But if you're in a relationship with somebody or something goes stale or whatever, do you really think it's the woman's job to pick that back up? I don't. I do not think it's the woman's job. The man should initiate that. It should be your job to keep the attraction going at all times. You should constantly be courting the woman. And we don't do that. See, we get married to the woman, and we're taught based on our society that once we're married, we don't have to do the courting anymore. We don't have to do nothing. And it kills women when you do that. Kills them. Because deep down inside, they loved you and they married you because you were that person to the point, you put a ring on their finger. That's the person that you need to be throughout your life. And when things get stale, you can't wait around for a woman to do something, to fix it. You have to be the man and to take initiative and try to fix it, That's what we should do, right? I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't women out there that will try to fix it, because they definitely will. Well,
Thank you for saying that. No, I never thought about it like that, but wow, yeah, I need that.
Well, what I'm saying
I needed
is
to come from the guy.
There's roles like that these energies are supposed to do that deep down we know we're the ones that's supposed to do it, but we're taught different. Just like if something happens, like, I don't know, we go in fallout or whatever, and the world's coming to an end, or things are getting really, really bad, right? It's not really the man's energy to calm everybody down and make sure they're nurtured and really get into everybody's feelings. No, like, they're outside protecting the house, and the woman, it's her job, no matter how, devastated she is, to pull herself together and nurture everybody a little bit. But both energies have to be doing what they're supposed to be doing in order for this to happen,
Absolutely. Yeah, it was interesting with my parents. Just to go back to what I witnessed with my father, is that the whole at that point I was 16. I never saw my dad cry, ever. I never saw him show any sign of weakness. He was a very strong guy. He went to the gym every morning, good-looking guy, very healthy, strong, capable, kind of this hero in my eyes. And then he had the affair, and the marriage fell apart, and there was a couple of years of, bad divorce battle thing going on. And then for the next 16 years or so, every time I saw my father, he cried.
Wow.
And I
really?
hated it. I hated it. I was like, pull yourself together. What is wrong with you? And yeah, it was like the floodgates cracked, and all the pain that he carried, because there was 25 years he was with my mother. And I could just feel all his pain, all his regret. It was so immense. It was really hard to sit with. He would cry like when he would say goodbye, or when
he was like, hurting deep down, deep. Man. Yeah, I've been there. I know exactly what he's talking about. I know exactly what that feels like, because for years you held it in. For years, if you cried or you ever released any emotions, you made sure nobody saw it. Matter of fact, you beat yourself up when you did it alone. You wouldn't let yourself do it, And I think maybe you get to a certain point in your life, like maybe he got to a certain point in his life where he realized it was poisoning him, and he had to let it out.
Yeah. And he started therapy and hypnotherapy and stuff. And I remember I was like, what is this hypnosis stuff you're doing? Because you can't stop crying, like, pull yourself together. But the ironic thing is I think my entire life I've seen my mom cry once.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Now I'm getting a little pushback here in the chat, but what I want you to understand when I say it's the man's job to initiate, understand that I mean it is the male energy's job to initiate, right? I mean, this is this is in every kind of relationship. It doesn't matter if it's hetero or a homosexual relationship. We all have these energies inside of us. And there are women that are more masculine, and there are men that are a little bit more feminine. But, you need to know this about yourself before you hook up with somebody. Like, you can't be a dominating male, a super masculine, and hook up with a dominating super masculine female. It ain't going to work, but we try, and then we realize it's stupid. But it's that energy that needs to take that initiative is what I'm talking about. And I know some guys are going to get pissed off. They're like, well, that goes both ways. The girls should do this and that. Well, they will. Some of them will because they know there's a problem, but it's not energetically their responsibility. If you study the esoteric nature of the divine masculine, or just go in nature, for heaven's sake, and watch what happens, right?
Yeah.
It's not the female that's supposed to do that, not the female energy. It's not to say that they don't, but if things aren't right, is what I'm saying. Be the man and try to make them right. And then if you don't get any reciprocity for that, then that's not your problem. You did what you're supposed to do. At least you tried,
Yeah, and some people in female bodies have a masculine essence and vice versa. Some people in masculine bodies really have a female soul essence. And when you bring these two into relationship, if it's not matching the gender, it can cause a lot of trauma and problems also. And I think for a really good match in a relationship, that you sort of want those opposite essences. And then some people, you have opposite soul essences, like me and my ex-husband. He has a masculine soul essence, but he had an overdeveloped female presence, and I had an developed masculine presence, just from our surviving of whatever we had gone through.
Right.
And that was not a good match for attraction.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, you could be good friends, right? Probably, maybe.
Yeah, we were great friends.
Work together and stuff like that, but it gets to the point where you realize if one person has to become less of who they are on a soul level, it's never good, and it's okay, man. Like, I honestly think, Amelia, people in relationships I know this sounds stupid, but they should do an evaluation, like every now and then. Say, hey, make a date, sit down and talk to each other and evaluate where you're at, how you feel, what's going on. Yeah. Like, communication is everything. That's another thing too, that when we're not in our energies, we don't do very well. We're afraid. Like, I can tell you as a man, there's been a lot of things that I've been afraid to communicate with to a woman, like you were talking about earlier, because we're afraid of the backlash,
Yeah, and I think for me, a lot of it has been around like the sexual shame stuff of my abuse and the things I've gone through. It has been really difficult to talk about with my partners. Like, yeah, I bet. When it comes up, or like if I get traumatized, there's a few different partners I've had in my life where my trauma comes up really strongly with them for some reason. Like, it gets triggered. And when I go into those places, like, I've had to educate them, like, hey, if I'm crying, it's because something really deep is happening. Like, and I think, sexuality and making love opens up portals and gateways in the body where we store our deepest wounds. And it's a very sacred experience. And when you're having sex and making love with someone and one of these traumas comes up to be released, it's so vulnerable, and it's a very sensitive time in how the other partner responds to it. My ex-boyfriend, who I was with for like 3 years, he couldn't handle when it would happen. He thought he would take it personally. He thought that I was like somehow crying because of him, or he's not trained in trauma response and how to hold someone who's moving through it. And for me, it was more trauma that he was like rejecting me at those moments. And then I've had other partners who, when those moments happen, are so nurturing, so caring, and in those moments really help me heal and release these pieces that are trapped, deep in the body. And that's really, really, really vulnerable place. And we all have them. It's just how deep are you going to go? How open are you going to allow someone to see you, go to those places? Because I don't think that we can heal without, like, if we were wounded in our sexuality, we're going to heal in our sexuality. If we're wounded in relationship with someone, we heal in relationship with someone. We don't heal by ourselves and then it magically just goes away and we have beautiful relationships after that. Like, we have to heal in the act of redoing it. You're so spot on with that. A lot of people be like, oh yeah, you remember when you was with the devil? Man, yeah, I was with the devil, but you know what that taught me? Like, those things teach you things, right? I mean, big things.
Big, huge things that you need to do and the universe brings these things to you. It's not like it's you're a victim. I hate that victim mentality thing. You're a victim. You always get this kind of person. Well, you're vibrating something that's bringing that to you. Never think about that. Like, that's what's happening.
They're also those are our biggest teachers.
Absolutely.
Like, I married the Antichrist, and I was a sex slave to him. Oh, and,
God.
He's one of the best teachers I've ever had. He activated me into my work, and I'm grateful. Do I talk to him? No. Do I want to hang out with him again? No.
Yeah, and if you're a man out there and you're doing that to a woman, you're trying to force her to have sex with you or play head games with her or do those kinds of things that we're not really talking about right now. But if you're listening, you know what I'm talking about. My address, I'll send it to you so you can come here so I can punch you in your teeth. Right? Because I have ran into that. Like, in my lifetime, I keep attracting these women that have been with guys like that, and then I have to try to heal that, and it's a pain in the ass. And I'm not doing it anymore because not only it's not like
charge for it if you're really going to heal. So, I mean, like,
you're going to have to pay me $50 an hour to heal
you're
that.
You're really
right?
gifted.
It's like, why?
That's too cheap, Joe.
Is that what you did? You married? I know you. You're always wanting. You should charge way more than that, right? But I mean, you married the woman, or she's your girlfriend, or whatever. If you still feel like you have to manipulate her into doing things for you, or be abusive, like, you need help, man. And the statistics tell me that at least one of you is listening right now. You need punched in the teeth. I mean, that's another thing, too. People are just afraid to take an ass whooping now. We can't do that anymore. But ass whoopings need to happen. Seriously.
Yeah, sometimes it's necessary. And, I think that, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and all of you in the chat room, please chime in here. But this desensitization of porn and advertising and just the level of at which, like, crazy sex is on the rise, like, I'm just sort of shocked at how desensitized. I mean, there's like a sex shop everywhere now.
Yeah.
And everybody's going towards, like, more crazy pleasure because they can't feel anything anymore. And basically porn is so normalized now. And okay, I'm not against porn per se. What I'm against is sex trafficking, child enslavement, pedophilia. Like, I don't agree to any of that. that so many people have been coerced into that. And then it's like an engine for men's desensitized pleasure. Like it's bad, no, there's no love.
It's bad. And I've seen it firsthand, and it's bad. Right. And what they do is when you question it, or you say, you know, it's almost like there's this energy there telling you, well, you know, you like it. And then you go, yeah, but I mean, doesn't feel totally fulfilling. Oh, that's just your shame talking. No, that's the spirit in you telling you that this is a sacred act, that you know there's supposed to be something special about it, and it's another balance thing. There's nothing wrong with serving the anima or the animal in you. I mean, it's there, right? But you need to keep that pendulum in balance, I think, at all times, because look what happens to us as a society, like you're talking about, just as a whole. We shouldn't have these kinds of things.
Well, I think the crisis is that we're alone and disconnected, and everybody needs deeper connection. And so the dildos are getting bigger and stronger, but it's like creating like more disconnection. Yeah. What's that?
Some of them got gas powered with pull start engines on them and stuff. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's crazy. It's like everybody's trying to be penetrated more, because they're trying to feel something, and it's becoming like levels of abuse. Because I know for myself, there, you know, I grew up around the San Francisco when body manipulation and kind of the S&M scene was on the rise. Like there was a deep underground of that, and for me, I found myself dabbling in my darker days going in that direction because it seemed more real. Like I needed to feel something, and I needed to like sort of act out some of these traumas that were buried in my unconscious that I didn't even realize till later when I started doing the healing, like why I can't feel anything. And it just, I started to see, oh, this just gets darker and darker and darker.
There's an emotional thing that you weren't acknowledging, I think, probably, right?
Yeah, I couldn't see it. And then the second I got out of that relationship with the Antichrist, and I started to like really separate myself from his energy, and I realized that, well, that's not really what I feel like. There's no challenge in that. It's just more emptiness, and there's just this like insatiable hunger. It's pure vampirism, and it's really just feeding these beasts and these hungry ghosts and this parasite that I talk about in the podcast a lot. But I started to see that parasite, and I was like, oh, this is like a human feeding engine. You know,
a parasite, yep.
This is like a darkness on the planet that is feeding off of our sexual energy, and it's taking our life force away and leaving us empty. So for all of you who disagree with me and think porn's great, like how do you feel after you watch it? How do you feel when you go to sleep at night? You're still longing for connection, and you're never going to find that through a screen. You're not going to find that through a device. You're not going to find that through these strangers. You're going to find it through a deep, intimate connection with another human being.
Do you think that it's a problem that the most sacred and best things about the act of sexuality has been hidden? See, I think that's a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, because
it is
at the top of like the biggest Western schools, even in the East, they hide these things. And I think they say it's, well, you know, it's for your own good, or it's because of this or that. But at the same time, you know, I think it's unhealthy. I think everybody should know that there's this divine union that happens. There's this real alchemical thing that happens, a divine reason why the man and woman is here, or those two energies are here. And doesn't mean that you should just run out and do the most sacred act, But I think if everybody was taught about it, man, and they know that it's there, that they would understand more. I don't think it should be hidden from people.
Well, it's the most powerful force on the planet.
Right.
There's nothing more powerful than the union of the divine masculine and divine feminine. It creates life. It births. It's the point of all creation. It's like you bring those two together through unconditional love, and there's nothing more powerful than that. And they don't want you to feel that because they're feeding off of your fear and greed, they being the dark entities that are feeding off our planet.
Now, keep in mind,
and want to enslave us. We're being farmed for their food.
You saw this too, right? You talk about this in your podcast. I
watch it all day long. Yes.
Robert Monroe, this is kind of why, one of the reasons why you started your podcast, that we talked about this too, because Robert Monroe talked about this when he was going out of the body, that he saw a parasite. He said it looked like a big parasite full of people that were just being fed off of, and even he was drawn to it. Like if he got too close to it, there was a huge force that tried to pull him into it, you know?
Yes. It's very seductive, very, very, very seductive. And anyone who's studying the mysteries is going to come face to face with it, and they have to make a decision. And unfortunately, so many people are lost in the lure of it. And that's when you need a really strong mentor and a guide, or a strong conviction in the light, or a soul that's come through many incarnations in the light to be able to resist it.
Yeah. And I hate to say this too, because I have friends that study Crowley and stuff, and I know a lot of these people that are in the OTO and Thelemites are true spiritual beings, and they really believe in this divine union. They believe in it to their core, and it's all about love to them. The problem is what I don't think they realize yet, or maybe they just don't care. I don't know. I don't believe that though, but if you read enough of Crowley, and I mean enough of it, you realize that he was creating something out of a pure rebellious spirit, number one. And then number two, he used women like they were concubines.
Crowley was like one of the instigators, the biggest feeders of the parasite. Like he's still on the other side of the grave, brings them in lining up to be fed off, to be fodder for the parasite.
This is one of the biggest things where, like when I started reading in Crowley, I learned a lot about yoga, stuff that would have taken me lifetimes to learn, because he just cut through all the BS, right? And I can see how people become attracted to his teachings, because he's
seduction.
Brilliant, right? But
Yes.
but at the same time, there's the balance it's not there. And there's a lot of people that were in the Golden Dawn, even to this day, that are disgusted by it because they kept that a secret, because love had to matter. It wasn't, love has to be a part of the equation, whether you believe it or not. Doesn't matter how taboo or what you're doing. Love has got to be a part of the equation. I totally believe
if you
that.
want to stay sane and you want to align, I've learned that not everybody is here to work in the light, and like not everyone's soul is born from the light. Like there are a lot of people on the planet that are agents of the dark, and they want the darkness to take over. I mean, they're feeders, and many people have given over their entire systems. They're just zombies of a shell of a being. Many people in my family are like that. It's extremely disturbing to look at. Like the person they once were, the soul of that originally came through that vehicle, is no longer there, or just a fraction of them are there. And that is extremely disturbing to me. It's been bothering me my entire life, and that's why I opened my school and teach people how to be sovereign and how to take their power back, because unfortunately we are all enslaved to this in some way, because they're ruling the planet.
Yeah. People talk about the dark cabal. That's what it is. Period.
Yeah.
And tell people too,
fodder.
because I know I don't know how much longer you can stay. I know you only got a few more minutes, but I want everybody to know this. Like, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for my audience, number one, but really what I'm doing, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Amelia. Like, Joe Roop wouldn't be doing what he's doing now if it wasn't for Amelia, because you remember that day when I was complaining to you all the time and you were like, dude, shut up, step into your power or shut up. Right. And I called you there one day and I said, okay, I just told the people at my job, I'm done. I can't do this no more. I'm going all spirit. This is what I want to do. And I was scared, so scared. And you were so happy. I couldn't believe it. I was like, aren't you scared? I mean, aren't you afraid of what's going to happen to me? And you were like, absolutely not, and you shouldn't be either. And Amelia helped me get to where I am now. So you still do that for people, men specifically too, right?
Well, yeah, this last year I told you I took this long sabbatical and I wasn't taking any private clients whatsoever. In fact, over the last year, I stopped doing private sessions and was only teaching in the school group format. And then this last year, I've only been running my online program, which I was just teaching once a month. And the rest of it's, my recordings. And I've been kind of instructed to support men right now, especially conscious men who want to use their vehicles of their business as their mission. So any men out there who are really wanting to activate their mission and live with a purpose and ground their mission through their work in the world, I am opening a few seats every quarter for new men to enter private mentorship with me and also to join the mystery school. We have, I have 55 graduates so far in the last couple years, and there's 20 active students right now in the school. So we're a really cool crew of men and women who are really learning to master the energy and embody this energetic system, this sovereignty of energy. So they're learning how to align their frequencies and bring it into every aspect of their life to find that balance and purpose. And when we have each other in the group, a lot of synchronicities happening, a lot of upgrades. As one person kind of figures something out, there's a speeding up, and it's an alchemical vortex in the school. It's really fun. It surprises me every day. And anyone who's interested, just go over to knowtheself.com. You'll see there's a way to apply for an interview to talk to me and see if it's the right fit, we're the right fit for each other. I do make sure that we're in soul alignment before I let anyone into the school. So if you go to knowtheself.com/interview, you can sign up to get a live interview with me.
I wonder what the rejection process is like. That I want to experience that. I wonder why she's not calling me back.
No, I just let people know really quickly, and sometimes they know. No,
I've heard you do it before. You're very nice about it. You're like, hey, our energies are doing two unique things that don't really line up right now, and that's okay. It's the way you do it. It's and it's honest too, but the way you do it's perfect. I wish I could break up with people that way. Hey, the way you do it. I have to take some notes, right? So our energies are doing some things right now that are totally unique, and we're all on our path, but I think we're just at a fork right here, Nice meeting you.
Mm-hmm. I wish I could break up with people like that too. I can't. But in the school, it's easier.
Right, yeah. Yeah,
I'm working.
Before you go to, I would like, everybody to look at your moon blog. I left the link down there at knowtheself.com. There's your latest article is about the full moon that is in Leo this coming Saturday. Is there anything that you'd like to just touch on real quick about that and give us some quick advice?
Well, hang in there, because this can be a big one. I called it time to roar, because I feel like it's time for people to really claim what they want in their life, and to be unapologetic in what they're here to really do, to just go for it, to be brave, to jump out there. So every full moon and new moon, I give energy updates. I'm not an astrologer. I read the collective energy from all of the people I interact with. Yeah, I don't like to get caught up with the planets and all of that. I'm talking about every moon and full moon and new moon. I feel the energy impulse that's coming through, and I write to that, and I give reflective questions just for you to tune into the cycles of energy that we're moving through as a collective. So it's not based on your astrological sign or anything like that. But check it out. There's always some deep questions to ponder if you're looking for some guidance. I also have a free Facebook group for anyone moving through massive change. It's called Rebirth and Renewal, Master the Art of Change. So you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram at Know the Self. But I look forward to hearing from people and to connecting with other change makers out there who are really wanting to be a force for change and doing the work on themselves to create that change. So
I think the biggest question too, well, not the biggest question, because it's a little selfish on my part, actually, but for a lot of people that have asked, will the podcast be coming back?
Yeah, it will come back. When, I'm not sure, but there's some stuff in the works. I'm also feeling retreat, Love, Sex, and the Hidden Agenda retreats coming up in Mexico for men and women to come together and have these deeper healing experiences, to find that union within themselves and in a really strong container. So I've been strengthening my own container to be able to hold that, because that is a little bit scary. It's been intimidating me. It's been coming through for many years now.
You'll do great at it.
I used to do them in India like 10 years ago, and I stopped because people get really activated, and so I need more space holders. But we're getting there. And,
now, what do you mean by activated? I'm just curious.
When you bring the feminine and masculine wounded energies into the same room, I have to put a lot of ground rules in place. Like, I don't allow people to hook up in my retreats or in my school. There's no dating allowed. Everybody's brother and sister, but people trigger the shit out of each other.
And they do it. Huh? Okay.
Well, there's all kinds of things that get drawn up because we come together. It's alchemical. So most of my retreats, a big part of it is in silence and just doing the work. But we're with each other in the evenings and mornings, and we do communicate in group format, but not socializing.
So I see what you're saying. So the energy actually gets healed and rises up and enough, and that causes people to flirt, so to speak.
Well, no, it doesn't cause them to flirt. It causes their Kundalini to rise, and some people can't control it. And I need enough skilled facilitators besides myself, because I can get kind of blown out just keeping it all tamed.
Yeah.
It's like putting a bunch of lions in a room.
I know. I was fixing to say, because if I went to one of those things, you'd have to put a shock collar on me for sure. Just be like, Joe, and then hit that button. Yeah, because that's...
Tame yourself.
That's definitely what would happen to me. That's why I don't go out, Amelia.
Mexico?
Yeah. You guys always trying to get me to go to these retreats, and I'm telling you.
In the jungle?
Yeah. Yeah, so somebody's going to have to put a shock collar on me, and then I'll go. So I'll behave myself.
Throw you over the boat into the water with the whale sharks.
Right. Exactly.
Mark is happening. In July, I think it's going to be the 4th of July. We're still finalizing the date, but in Mexico, in the Yucatan. So the Mayan Riviera, put it on your calendar.
Hey, we don't need to wait so long until you come back on the show again, I mean, it's been more than a year, I think. Or has it been since you came on?
It's been September 2018.
Yeah.
Is that crazy? That's crazy.
Well, you just, got to take all these fancy vacations and stuff and,
I'm in a permy vacation. I just moved.
Everybody is so jealous of you.
I'm literally in a vacation rental for over a year. Yeah.
Well, we love you, and thank you for coming on and talking to us again.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's really good to catch up with you. And thank you guys for listening.
Go to knowtheself.com, lovesexagenda.com. We're probably going to be putting those events and stuff too back on the websites, and just keep up with Amelia and follow her on social media too. We'll be right back. More to come. Thank you, Amelia, for coming on the show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast. Need another late night fix? You can tune in every weeknight to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop on the Fringe FM.
This is the Rori Report news on the Fringe FM. I'm Jess Rogi. The U.S. House of Representatives recently proposed a bipartisan bill that would essentially eliminate NASA's plans to build a fully functioning lunar base. The proposal comes from the House of Aeronautics and Space Subcommittee of the House of Space and Science Committee and seeks to limit NASA's extraterrestrial endeavors going forward. The bill would also severely limit NASA's ability to conduct scientific research on the moon in conjunction with civilian partners. Whether Mars is the end goal or not, there are clear scientific advances being made on the moon. This includes the recent discovery of techniques that could turn the satellite's abundance of moon dust into a source of oxygen and metal. The research is still in its early stage, but if scientists could study the process on the moon's surface, it could fast-track the development of a self-sustaining colony. Ancient seeds dated to around 2,000 years ago have been grown by scientists, according to a study published in the Journal of Science Advances. The date palm is one of the oldest cultivated fruit trees in the world. In 2005, a team led by Salon managed to germinate a 1,900-year-old Judean date palm seed that had been found near a historical site near the Dead Sea in Israel. The scientists planted the well-preserved seeds in a research site in southern Israel, and they have now grown into plants measuring several feet high. These results confirm the longevity of Judean date palm seeds. Caesar MP, a commercial pilot for Colombian Airline, posted a UFO video to TikTok. The pilot was flying over Medellin, Spain, when he saw a foreign object he could not identify. The video has since gone viral and has generated a great deal of speculation among internet users. In the video, you can see what appears to be a metallic sphere with no wings and no sign of exhaust, which appears to transform into a cube shape. U.S. Navy pilots have reported seeing a sphere encased in a cube flying over the Atlantic Ocean. A glittering, snake-like UFO has been spotted in the sky over the Brazilian city of São Paulo. This is the first time this kind of UFO has been spotted in Latin America. The only other previous sightings were in the United States. The witness described seeing two separate sets of lights. One was steady and red and the other flashing gold. Then the two lights merged, forming a huge snake-like object that floated in the sky for several minutes before disappearing. Several snake-like UFOs have frequently been spotted in recent months in North America, including New York, Wyoming, and Washington. They've also been seen in other parts of the world, such as Edinburgh, Scotland. Major Jesse Marshall, who was the first officer on the scene at the Roswell crash in New Mexico, took material home from the crash site in 1947. Until recently, it had not been known what happened to the material that Major Marshall found at the site. A witness has told UFO investigator Philip Mantle that the Major confided in him and that he kept the 3 pieces of the UFO in a hot water heater in his home in Louisiana. This is the Rori Report news on the Fringe FM. I'm Jess Rogi.
Hi, this is David Oman with HouseAtTheEndOfTheDrive.com. You're listening to KTLK, the Fringe FM.
What's up, Joe? Hey, man, I just wanted to say your show, dude, keeps getting better and better and better. I love Lighting the Void and the Fringe FM.
You're listening to the Fringe FM, and I'm Michael Deacon reminding you can find my show right here on the Fringe FM every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, or by going to michaeldeacon.com. The choice is yours.
Hi, this is Aaron Hunter, host of Real Paranormal Activity, the podcast where we tell real paranormal experiences of people from around the world. And we also conduct interviews with authors, investigators, psychics, and mediums. Real people, real stories, real fear. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Fringe FM. See you then.
Hey, this check is wrong. I worked a holiday and 7 hours of overtime. Not getting paid correctly is a real pain. It could also hurt our boss if our company provides out-of-compliance checks. That's right, construction companies doing business with the government can get fined, or officials of the companies can go to jail if the checks aren't right. It's a law. The Davis-Bacon Act has 30 compliance issues for every check, but there is an easy way for construction companies to be in compliance. EMARS offers Compliant Client, a web-based system that finds and corrects all 30 of the possible out-of-compliance check issues. Users of Compliant Client report an 80% savings in time and money. Running a weekly payroll usually takes about 5 minutes. All 15,000 plus clients of EMARS have never had a legal compliance issue. Plus, they sleep better on check day. Contact EMARS at emarsinc.com or call 480-595-0466.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs. If you are interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm, or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
Do you want to know the truth? Are UFOs real? Are aliens visiting Earth? Are governments around the world hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO Seekers, official partner of the Fringe FM, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Join us as we investigate locations like Area 51 by subscribing on YouTube at youtube.com/UFO Seekers.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Alex. Hi, I'm Alex Exum, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. We are back in the last section of our show, and Reverend Dan Lopez is here with us. And that was cool, getting to talk to Amelia. It's been such a long time since we've had her on the podcast. And I hope that, broadcast, rather. I hope that everybody gets a little help from all of that. Like this week, I really planned on talking about the energies and stuff that have just recently happened to us, and maybe we'll all learn something from all this stuff, because a lot of people are going through it. And the Reverend Dan Lopez is here with us. I didn't want to interrupt you, man, but you had it going on in the chat room. Didn't seem like you were working on the bike tonight. I don't know if you're there. I know I was losing you with Skype. You there, brother?
Am I here? Am I here? Do you got me?
There you are. Yeah, I got you.
Freaking thing. What's up, people?
So what did you agree or disagree about in that conversation? I want you to chime in on this, man. You're like an elder to me.
Well, you were saying something about the male energies being the dominant and needing to be the one who instigates the relationship or whatever, and sometimes. I was like, not really. I'm like, that's dogma. And so, it doesn't mean I totally disagree with it. It's just that it's not, I didn't particularly find that true across the border, because a lot of female energies are very female strong, and well, look at the Amazons, you know what I mean? If you go to take a, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, really, and so now society is
now, you do understand that I'm talking about, like, that I am specifically talking about in certain situations.
The alchemical situation and, the alchemical laws and everything like that. And I understand that. But the thing is that, those are all predicated on the matriarchal established society, right? So we don't include anything prior to that where energies were matriarchal in nature. And so you have to say, okay, well, this can pertain to this and this can pertain to that. And so all we really have is based on what we see, right? On evidence, given to us. So other than that, you could see it not being that way with certain individuals. And that's where I'm coming from. I'm like, well, I've seen it where people are being their true selves, and it wasn't necessarily a male-dominated energy that was making them more assertive.
Well,
they
it's
were
not,
just being
the specific situation I was talking about is not all the time. It's when things...
Right.
It's when things...
Right. And in that vein, I agree with you.
Yeah, so it's like when things are stale, which happens, right? It happens a lot, and if you are you're with somebody, let's say you're... the masculine energy in the relationship, because there are relationships, whether people realize this or not, where the female is the masculine energy, because long-lasting ones too. But what you'll usually find is that the male is more the feminine energy. That's just the way it is, because these things work better when the poles are better, when the poles are where they're supposed to be. They don't work so well when they're not. But we all have masculine and feminine energy in us. That's why when things go stale in a marriage or something, even a feminine female will pull the masculine just to try to get things going again. Matter of fact, you hear them crying about it sometimes. To their best friends, we never have sex anymore. And but it's like, if it was a specific case where it was totally female energy and totally masculine energy, and you look in nature in the most comfortable way. I'm talking about in the most comfortable fashion. But the man would he would initiate it. I'm not saying be aggressive. It's not what I'm talking about. But more like initiate it in a playful way. Hey, this is what I want, right? And do it the right way. And you see it in nature. Like, I give you an example. We've all watched Animal Planet. Was it Animal Planet or is it National Geographic? I forget. And you got this pack of lions, right? And you can tell the female is in a bad mood, pissed off, laying there, in the grass. And the male lion, after he's done made his presence and everybody knows he's the alpha male of the pack, he'll walk around to the female lion and he'll just kind of swat her a little bit. He'll be like, hey, what's up? And she'll be like, get the hell away from me, kind of annoyed. That kind of thing. And then he'll go back around, sit down, chill out for a minute. Give it time, he'll get back up, give her another little swat, hey, what's up? And she's like, get away from me. And eventually, this energy starts to play out, where this dominance and surrender thing happens. And they're both pretty happy about it, right? So that's just the energy I'm talking about. It's not really it can happen, but from a man or a woman, just depends on where the energies are at. That's what I was talking about.
I agree with you.
So when people get like that, and it's tragic because we've all been in relationships that get that way, and you know you love the other person, you love them with your whole heart, but something's not right. The masculine energy, it's natural to be the initiator, but I think people take that the wrong way. Like they think they should say, this is what I want, and then when they don't get their way, they throw a fit. No, that's childish energy. There's a difference, you know. Mm. If you don't get reciprocity, then you have a problem, and you need to communicate the problem, and then you need to go to counseling or something if you want to do those kinds of things. But instead, what happens is people aren't in their center, or they're not trained to be able to do what they're supposed to do because society's trained us a certain way. Then we get, like Amelia was talking about, her dad goes and cheats, and now he's the freaking devil, which all it was society putting their dogma on relationships and marriage, causing imbalances. Like I think marriage is such a. I mean, if you're married and you're happy, then that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like marriage that when you're in a relationship, it makes you feel unloved. It makes you feel obligated in a way that you don't like, trapped and unfree. You know, you should always have a choice. You take choice out of it, and I don't think love is there if you don't have a choice. Well, that's just my opinion. Gotta have a choice, man.
Everyone's got one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
one. No, yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, if you see the imbalance, and it was like I was saying inside the chat, it was like, you know, society does not give you the coping tools to deal with, you know, imbalances in emotional harmony. You know what I mean? It's completely designed to create disharmony is what it is, you know? And it's funny. It was like I was saying earlier, I was like, you know, isn't that weird that you and I were doing the Friday things, going over Jung and how he was saying, giving us warning against seeking pleasure over happiness.
That's right.
You know, and I was like, it's just, hopefully the energies will be out there and people are starting to wake up. You know, it seems like that's the way it's turning, and it's pushing people to get to that point where it's like, I don't know what to believe anymore. And so I need to freaking just, you know, get centered and squared about my own self and get to know what the heck is going on with me. Cause right now nothing makes sense.
Yeah. Night Stalker says Chris Ryan's brilliant, by the way. He says, Chris Ryan talks about that, Joe, that guy that wrote that wrote that book. He doesn't argue that marriage is wrong, but why it's not easy based on our evolution. Yeah. It's not easy. But it doesn't mean that you can't have a monogamous commitment with somebody. I think you should make up your own ceremonies. You should make up your own vows. Just like when we take vows that have been written down that become dogma, this is what causes hell. And if you're a Christian, you know, your Savior said that. He said, you know, the Pharisees and people that write laws and stuff and enforce those laws and dogmas onto people are the harbingers of hell, and they create children of hell. Think about that. So those books that we all worship, he never said, this is my book. He said, this is your book. If you want to follow the word, that's what he said. Doesn't it say in your book that you're supposed to do this? He never said it was his book. He just fulfilled your laws. So hopefully you would evolve. That's all. And in Hebrews, it even says that in Hebrews too. Let us move on from this doctrine of Christianity or whatever, you know, saved by faith, so we can evolve, not get away from it, but evolve. And I think it's sad that we have all these soldiers of evolution that come in here and get martyred or get killed. You don't know who they are because they usually get assassinated or martyred, and they're only here to evolve us, and we make idols out of them, and we never evolve. We're like, yeah, you know, that guy was a god, or he was this or that, when he was just trying to show you who you were and that we need to evolve too. And it's pretty damn sad anyways. I'm getting on a rant though.
Yeah, we've been living on milk and bread for a long time. It's time for people to eat meat again.
Yeah, man. You know? Yeah. But at the same time, who am I, right? I'm just Joe. So you guys have to understand, like, I'm only telling you about what I'm going through and what I'm learning. It doesn't mean I know it all or anything like that, because you can ask Dan. I definitely don't. And I don't follow my own advice 90% of the time either. But
you're not alone.
But Dan is the guy that was there for me because when I was in emotional hurt, you know, that's how I know he's my best friend. Like, this guy doesn't know if he's going to make it to next year and still willing to listen to my pain. And,
because it's not all about me.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to find people like that in your life. You got to hold on to those people that you've never told me you were going to do something and not done it. You've been completely honest and even brutally honest with me. I hang on to those people, man. I may have a really small circle of friends, but I hold on to them as tight as I can.
It could be a selfish part of me, you know, because it's like, it's a lot easier to deal with your stuff than it is to deal with my stuff, because I don't have to go up to bed with your stuff.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's like, that's all yours. Once that line goes, good night, that's it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you taught me how to. You were one of the people that taught me how to stop running from my pain, man. You know.
Well, yeah, we got to live it. We got to feel it, and we have to, you know, get through it, because otherwise, it'll just continuously repeat on us. Like, it's like when it's not the same, but it is the same because it's emotionally based. So say you have lost a loved one. I don't know if you had a dog you had to put down or whatever, right? It meant the world to you and everything like that. If you don't cry out the loss, you're going to feel that stuff. You know, you'll get triggered every time that dog is mentioned. You know what I mean? It's just like that. It's like you're not completely healed. There's no closure. You know, but if you actually let it out and feel through what you have to feel through instead of running away from the pain, you know, you're going to keep reliving it, you know, in one way or another. And the hardest thing to do is just like, you know, get yourself to a point where you're okay with it. You've come to an acceptance. You know, that's where the real healing is when we come into the acceptance of things, you know, because it's not like we can actually change time. We can't change, you know, I mean, in a sense we can, you know, by making the decisions that we do. If we want to choose to become healthy, then we can actually change time, and the time of pain and sorrow and suffering and stuff like that is no longer pain, sorrow, and suffering. It's now something of what our mutation has become.
Right. People are asking how you listen to Love, Sex, and the Hidden Agenda podcast. All of the podcasts that are directly produced by the Fringe FM or are a part of it, it doesn't matter. I mean, all of the podcasts, even if we don't produce them, you just search that name of the podcast on any podcast player. I find it funny. I have to keep explaining this, but I do realize some people don't know about this. Like, there are a million podcast players out there. Spotify, iTunes, Apple, Stitcher, iHeart, Overcast. I really like Overcast. I like the way they do things. We're on all of them, and all the shows are on all of them. You just have to search the name of the show in the podcast search engine, and it'll come up. Or you can actually, for her podcast, you can go to lovesexagenda.com, and they have it there as well, too. And
you know what I heard the other day?
What?
And I thought this was pretty profound. It was like, you got to treat every show that you do like it's your first one, because for some people it really is your first one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
For them, right?
Yeah, because I mean, I'm a real jerk about that stuff, man. Like, and I need to quit.
I'm guilty.
I need to stop and realize some people just don't know how to look stuff up. But I'm like, Jesus, I've said it a million times. I mean, you can't search it yourself, and that's how I get when I GOOGLE. But seriously, though, some people don't know how to do this stuff yet, and we think because we've used technology 24/7 that everybody else does, and they know all the fundamentals and everything, and they don't. Like, I had a host that didn't know what an RSS feed was. She's like, well, you send me the RSS feed link. And I'm like, yeah, I'll send you the link. Here's the RSS feed. I send her the link. And then she pulls it up and she goes, well, it's nothing but a page full of code. And I'm like, yeah, it's a RSS feed.
You need a reader.
Yeah, that's what podcast players do. They read the feed, then it pulls the data out, you know. So just let me explain this, just in case nobody knows how this works. When you create a podcast, you create a RSS feed that's called, it means really simple syndication, and it's full of XML code, and it's a reader, right? And the reason why it does that is, say, like Spotify has an engine that reads these feeds. So if you submit your feed to Spotify, every so often, every 30 minutes or whatever algorithm they have, it's going to go read that feed for new data. And if you've got a new episode up, it's just going to pull it up. Bing. And then when you syndicate your podcast, you just send that feed to all the podcast players. That's how it works. And that's the whole reason that's how podcasts started, because RSS feeds, when the internet first started, people made RSS feeds, really simple syndication feeds where they put their most favorite content in a feed. That way, if something came up that was new from that website or something, it would pop up on that feed. And we still have services like that, like Feedly or whatever. So you could go to Feedly.
Send all of those RSS feeds to the search engines. Man.
I love Feedly, by the way. But you could go to Feedly, put your favorite websites in there, and instead of you searching the web for stuff, you go to your Feedly page, and it's going to give you the latest of all your favorite stuff. And so some guy, I forget his name, realized, hey, we could do like a podcast and call it a podcast and just put our audio episodes on here, and this feed reader will read it, and that's how podcasts got started.
Woohoo!
There you go.
XML, extensive markup language, for those who don't know.
Yeah, and it's gotten a lot fancier over time. I mean, podcasts are all the rage right now. It's taken over radio. It's taken over everything.
It is. You know, and I find there's a lot more people, which is telling of what's going on with society. Because long form is actually becoming a thing again, which is great considering this is such an impatient freaking, society that patience is actually ruling out, because a lot of people want to listen to long shows because a lot of people, they're commuting. So they want to listen to their favorite shows while they're commuting, right? Or doing jobs or whatever, their hobbies or whatever. A lot of people aren't just sitting around listening to the show, like old radio time. Well, a lot of them are, but, most of the people are, how do you say, they're devouring, right? They're devouring their podcasts while they're in traffic.
Yeah, see, Jake's already getting offended. He thinks I'm calling him an idiot. No, dude, it's not you. It's just what I've...
Jake's not nothing.
He's like, I'm not an idiot, man. Like, I know you're not an idiot because you download this show all the time, dude. I know you know how to do it. It's just seriously, today, I've had like 12 people ask me that. And a host man, you know what I go through, right? It's like, what do you want me to send you? What do you want me to send you? A link to your RSS feed? Here it is. What did you think it was? Like, these people that are supposed to know how to do this stuff, professionals in radio, or they consider themselves professionals, but don't understand even the slightest bit. My listeners understand the technology better, and I get that too. Okay. I mean, like, somebody like Rush Limbaugh, they don't have to worry about that stuff, but they know about it. I mean, they get paid. You know how much that guy gets paid? You wouldn't believe how much he gets paid. It is ridiculous. Ridiculous.
It's been around. How many years is he doing this now? It's like close to 30 years now, right?
Right, yeah.
At least.
It's in the freaking millions. And I can't believe that anybody that does radio would get paid that much, honestly. I mean, I could see a baseball player or something like that, but there's a big gap. There's all these radio magazines that I follow. I follow them because I want to learn about the industry more. And Rush Limbaugh, Howard Stern, and I think Sean Hannity or something, they're not even close. Rush Limbaugh is like in the millions, and then Howard Stern's like in the millions too, but not as much. And then there's this, then it jumps way down to like only like six figures. So there's like 2 or 3 people in radio really getting paid, and the rest of them are making a living. And then there's the rest of us that are just kind of doing scraps. It. Right. Yeah. Then there's, it does make me kind of reevaluate, like, what am I doing here? You know, but if I was all about the money, I promise you, if I was all about money and that's it, I wouldn't be doing this. I promise you. I wouldn't be. This is not, if you want to make money, like you want to make a ton of money, radio's not the business to get in. Although, if you get as good as like Howard Stern or whatever, I mean, you'll have a better shot at podcasting just doing podcasts than you would radio. The whole industry's going down, bro. Like, I don't know why I'm talking inside talk here, but I want you guys to realize just how powerful podcasts are. The FCC just put up 133 radio stations up for auction. They haven't had that many radio stations up for auction ever. Just radio stations. Yeah, man. Now, we've been thinking about getting one, actually, but we don't know, when you go to look at it.
Don't we need a license?
Yeah, but you only got to pay the fee. That's it. You don't have to do the construction stuff and everything. Like, if you buy the radio station, you save a lot of money through the auctions if you win the auction. But it's happening right now. And I was talking to Eric about it, and I was like, man, let's get one of these radio stations or something and plant our butts in there. And then I got to thinking, I'm like, wait a minute, why are they auctioning this off? Like, why would you want to get involved with it if they're auctioning it off? And you realize that it costs too much to just do.
Yeah. It's a lot of overhead.
It's cool, though. I mean, it just breaks my heart, brother, because I love radio so much. I love the idea that there's radio waves out there that you can talk on. And I still want to be
2 meter radio is like still huge, and they've been fighting for it, and the government been wanting to take it over and do whatever they were going to do and sell it off or whatever. But then a lot of people from the AARL got together and they were like, hello, there's still a lot of people out here, and it's really funny because a lot of pirate stations have been getting on 2 meter and other ham radio stations to get it out there, get the information out there, which is telling because it was one of the things that you could do. It was like commercial free and stuff like that, but people were running ads and stuff on their own stations. But it's interesting. It's one of those areas which, I always thought that was pretty cool because a lot of people used to go where I'm from in the Northeast. I'm over from New York, and people were listening to all the college stations, and all the college stations were playing music that nobody was listening to. You know what I mean? And introducing a whole bunch of bands that nobody heard of and stuff like that. And you get to hear a lot of music and news that you never knew what was going on and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Hey, I want to say something too, real quick. Jake, man, I got to brag about this. He said, "You're good, Joe. I'm not offended." And same with Dan's comment earlier. We're here to debate and have real discussions. God, dude, I wish there were more of you out there. I really do, brother. Take up void walkers are the coolest people in the world. You guys are. Jake, you don't have to be a void walker. You're just cool. I appreciate your attitude about that, man. You know what we deal with something. We say one thing wrong, and somebody gets so bent out of shape they hold grudges and stuff. And he's like, "No, dude, it's just a disagreement. That's all." God, I love that. Not used to force. Not used to it. I'm used to getting crap or getting 4-page emails, death threats even. Y'all, there's still an email in the chat room that I showed you guys where somebody just went, oh man, I got to find it. If you go, what, do you remember where I put that? Those crazy emails that I was getting?
Wasn't it in the discussion? What, it wasn't. Was it in the discussion?
I think so, but This dude was talking some crazy stuff, man. Like,
oh yeah, that was intense.
Imagine
that was
what it's
one of
like.
those. You know, the guy was probably lit on some serious alcohol, dude.
You know what scares me about that is the length of it. Like the person gets so bent out of shape that imagine the energy and time it takes for them to write up something like that. And then to attach all those files and then to do all this stuff, you know, all because they're bent out of shape about something that you said.
Mm-hmm. They took it personal. They take it personal. That's the thing is that, you know, things happen and people take it personal. They catch resentments. They don't know how to deal with them. They forget how to control their emotions. That's another part of freaking society's bane of existence is that, you know, well, I was saying earlier that they don't give us the coping tools to deal with, you know, situations, real life situations and stuff like that, how to conduct yourself, you know, and other people. You know, you would think that if just because you have this kind of forum, this platform that, you know, you share things with the public and it would be like a safe haven. And it's not. It's really not, you know. You want to be open and honest as much as you possibly can and be transparent and everything like that. But there's people out there who would take whatever you do and turn it around and twist it into their own fabrications. And next thing you know it, you're like, do I have to watch my door? Do I have to watch, you know, who's this guy, you know, driving by slowly and everything like that? You know, it's like, what the hell?
I had that Prius that kept coming by here, man, dude. Do you remember me telling you about that Prius that kept driving by?
Hell yeah.
Dude, I went down the end of the road and pointed a shotgun at it. I was like, you drive by here again, I'm going to pump this car full of all kinds of stuff. It just gets freaky after a while.
Oh, yeah.
So sure. I'm not doing it. Like, I don't advertise my address, but if you can, I mean, it's easy to find, but it's like I never thought I'd have to even worry about that. That just didn't even cross my mind, you know? And here's something I'm having an issue with now, Dan, is not around here, not in Arkansas per se, but now that I've traveled around and talked to people and dated and all this stuff, it's like nobody, unless I just make friends with people or date somebody that has nothing to do with the internet or paranormal or the occult, like I can't be treated like I'm a normal person. And it's not even that bad. It's not like I'm famous or anything. I'm not at all. It's just like they don't look at me as a normal person anymore.
Well, you've been on Clyde Lewis.
I don't like that. I don't like the way it makes me feel.
You're now in the zone.
That's what happened to Ryan, man. He started getting people. He had people go out and cut the power at his house, man. Like he was getting some crazy stuff happened to him. I think it was some Antifa people, but they were cutting the power to his house, cut his phone off, trying to scare him. I mean, he went out and got armed, you know. And I feel sorry for anybody that messes with Ryan or even decides that they're going to freaking scare him or something, because he's not playing around. He takes his rights very seriously. And I got a feeling if somebody happens to pull something stupid within the next year, you're gonna see him in a news article, like defending himself, man.
You know, it's so funny. It reminds me of. So I was going out with this Cherokee girl, and she's like a heavy duty like person, you know, and. Because her grandfather created a syllabus for the written language for the Cherokee and everything like that. So she was telling me about this group of guys who was freaking, you know, because she was supporting Trump and everything like that. So there was a section of the Cherokee that didn't want that to be, because they wanted things to go the way of Hillary and da-da-da-da-da. Mm-hmm. So they had this group of guys called the Brothers of something, right? And they were actually gonna come from Oklahoma all the way to frick out here to cause some shit and take me down, right?
Why?
And I'm
just
like,
because somebody wants to support Trump?
No, because I was going out with the Cherokee.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Right, but an important Cherokee. So I was like, yeah, sure, fine. So I went on all the socials and I was like, let them come. Here's my video of me taking out a freaking, couple of cans with my freaking AR and, let's do this. I got teeth. There's like 4 or 5 Lopez's and 5,000 houses out here in a gated community. Good luck trying to find me, because I don't have my address out there. It goes to a mailbox and, it's.
You see Dan out there right now.
And even if you do, I mean, forget about it. I got 2 houses out here I got to worry about. One was my ex's and mine. And, my father's actually. And so I'm like, no problem. I got one for far away and I got one for close and personal.
Yeah, you probably got a machine gun in there too, just in case there's too many people, right?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll go you one better. I got an alibi.
That's all that matters, right? Is an alibi.
That's it, man. Take a look out my backyard. There's plenty of space out there to bury.
Can you see? Can you see Dan out there?
I got no rollers.
All right, going. Get some. Get some. That'd be so funny, dude. Well, I mean, like I believe in the right to bear arms. I'm not a gun nut, but. People don't understand that, right? You hear that controversy about people like guns. There's, the super people that are against it, and it's like you don't understand it. The right to bear arms is the thing that gives us our freedom, so that we don't get overthrown by our government. They didn't give us the right to bear arms because we wanted to have guns, right? The whole idea is that you had the right to bear arms so you could create a militia against your government if things got out of hand. That's what it was for. Because if a government takes your right to defend yourself away, you're not free. I don't care what you say. You're not. You can say you're free, but you're not. I'm not saying we're free, but that's a big step once they disarm you. And no, I know the practicals, they say, well, do you really think that you're going to be able to stand up to your government with guns when they got laser weapons in space?
Laser weapons in space.
Look, no, you're right. But we stand a lot better chance with them than without them.
I'm waiting for the laser weapons.
Just take you out. They already got them. They already got that stuff. My cousin told me about it.
So anyway, with the death threats and all of that stuff, the word on the street was that, they came and they got about the borderline of Oklahoma and decided that it was probably a good idea if they didn't do it after all. So, yeah, at least they had that much sense.
Yeah. And there are stupid people with guns, too. Trust me. I live around them.
Oh, yeah.
I had to call the sheriff on one of them not too long ago. They're out there shooting their 9mm in their backyard, quote, target
They
practice.
can do that out here legally.
No, I'm not. Hold on a second. I'm not. Let me finish the story. I'm not saying that's illegal because we do that too. But the fact that the bullets were ricocheting in my yard and the trees across the street is a problem.
That is a problem.
That means they're not creating a backstop. They don't know proper gun safety. And it got to a point where I had to call the sheriff's department and be like, look, I'm not trying to, call the cops on people that are sighting in their weapons, but if their bullets are bouncing around in my yard, there's a problem. They don't know what they're doing.
And accidents are permanent.
Yeah.
No joke. That's no joke. So took a lot of gun safety courses and stuff like that because I was like, where you go from New York from New York where there's no, there's no freedom. I mean, you got to pay for everything. You got to go and give your life's blood and everything like that in order to appease the gods, in order for you to carry, and then get charged every year like hundreds of dollars to own and all that stuff. And you come out here. And it's like, oh yeah, sure. You want one? Yeah. You got to go through your national, federal, and then national information, like the FBI and stuff like that. It's called a nick pick. And so you go through those, you go through your local FFL, and then you're good. It's like 20 minutes to wait and stuff like that. It's not an extra charge. It's part of the, I think it is an extra charge. I think it's like $20 too. And that's it. And there's no waiting, there's no, cool off period or anything like that. You get it the same day, the same hour, after you purchase it and stuff like that. So, yeah, so going from New York and coming to that, it got a little crazy. And then it was fairly inexpensive. So it was like, $300 you're in, and you get the pick of the litter.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, damn, we're running out of time here. All right. So I want to promote this till it happens. Okay. The Night Stalker. Well, they're talking about it in the chat room, so I might as well just say, yes, we're going to do the Night Stalker auction. All proceeds are going to go to the Night Stalkers, and listen to me, Night Stalker, all right? All of the proceeds are going to go to your setup, so you can get a good mic, you can get you a good setup there, so we can get the Night Stalker news going. He's already doing a fantastic job with Night Stalker news on social media, and Jess Rogie from the Rori Report is just itching for you to come on the team and help her. So we're going to do an auction on Valentine's night for a e-date with the Night Stalker. Now, I didn't say, and apparently Jake has brought this to my attention in the chat room. I did not say that only women could, bid. So it looks like Jake is going to be bidding too. All right. But I have this feeling that, let me just tell you this, Night Stalker, don't be nervous and don't worry about it, dude. Because even if only 2 people bid on you, I promise you, I already know I've done a little magic, and some other people have done a little magic too, that it's going to be a successful night for you. So that's already set in stone. All right, so just remember that. And you're going to get the hookup. But if you have to court your date properly, you have to do that. In other words, there's going to be food, you're going to get on cast, and you're going to talk to each other. Hopefully, Jake won't win, but if he does, then you're just going to have to court Jake. And there's going to be a choice in a movie. And if you guys got any other ideas, bring it to me, okay? Because I know, because I've had long-distance relationships via the internet. And let me tell you something. You can do anything you want on the internet besides just touch each other in real life, okay? So you can have a date, you can eat dinner and watch a movie. Holy crap, what am I thinking? Somebody put that picture of the girl with the whip in there. So there's other things you can do, and it'll be fun, man. And what I'm wondering, though, is should we make it to where people can watch the date, or should we just let them be private about it? Because I think it would be cool. Oh, we can't at least check in to see where he's at every now and then?
Private.
That would be more fun, though. It's like Big Brother, where we can watch.
Oh, God. This isn't Big Brother, though. Holy crap.
But that's so boring. Like, yeah, you won. Y'all have fun now. Then we don't know what happened till the next week. And then we'll probably get lied to about that. We got to put in some hidden cameras somewhere or something.
Sure. Then hire some ghostwriters.
Yeah. So girls, get start saving up your monies, especially if you're single and you know that no man's gonna be there for you on Valentine's. I assure you, Night Stalker will show you a good time and make you feel real special. We're gonna make sure he's coached by the best, and he's don't really need coaching anyways. He's already a stud.
No, he don't coaching. He's good.
Yeah, he's a stud. Oh, by the way, yeah, I got that text message. All right, so yes, thank you for reminding me of that. So some of the coaches, as far as teaching you about masculine energy and feminine energy, I'll tell you, there's a couple of guys that are in there. Coach Corey Wayne is a best-selling author. He wrote a book called The 3% Man and has helped me a lot when it comes to dating, but he doesn't help so much when it comes to coming into your own, like being a unique person, but he definitely can teach you about the proper use of the masculine energy. However, if you want to follow a coach on YouTube that I think is hands down the best. Hands down the best that'll help you. And women, I don't care who goes and listens to the guy. I love the guy. His name is Alex Allman, and I'm going to try to get him on the show. And he teaches men how to come into their own masculine energy, but also come into your own as a unique individual and be super authentic. And anybody that teaches that, I'm all about. And I relate to the guy a lot more because he's more about passion and drive than anything. And I can't wait to get him on the show. I hope he comes on here if he's got time. These two guys. Huh?
Can I share one?
Yeah, go ahead, for sure.
For anybody looking to do for anyone looking to do a lot of inner work, a lot of self-reflection, and get through a lot of pain and suffering and stuff like that they've been going through, even just a little minor hiccups or whatever, there's this woman, her name is Byron Katie, Byron Katie, Katy, or TIE. And her work is called The Work, THEWORK. You can find her on YouTube. And she has a whole program and everything like that. And you can pretty much just watch all the videos on there, and you'll pretty much get what you need to get it done. But she also has information and books out that are workbooks and stuff like that for the work to be done. It's quite extensive, and it's really deep, and you'll go through a boatload of changes. But I found that it is very much and very reflective. A lot of stuff that I learned in the self-help meetings, the 12-step meetings, where it's a lot of inner stuff, man. If you want to talk about hardcore, working out your problems, that's where you need to go. But otherwise, the other stuff that Joe's saying is also excellent stuff.
Yeah, and no problem. And what you'll find is these people aren't teaching you to be somebody else. They're teaching you to be okay with who you really are deep down.
Right.
And then you realize that society, your parents, your friends, and your peers, and even that evil voice in your head has taught you not to accept that person that's inside you. There's so many people that listen to the show that are passionate people that have a drive and much energy and knowledge to share. And I think it's kind of sad that people suffer in relationships because of it. It's sad. Mm-hmm. Second saddest thing in life I've found is wasted talent. And wasted talent is the big one for me. That's the biggest. When someone doesn't know what they have to offer because somebody or something has taught them that they don't have it or they're not worth it. And then secondly, coming into this energy, because I think when we all learn to come into this true energy about ourselves, then we can spread love properly. When I say properly, just harnessed in a balanced way and kind of get into this whole divine thing that's supposed to be happening. Well, I mean, we're evolving. As a society, we are. We're just going through a lot of birth and pains. And
the old God's got to die, man.
And we got to figure this stuff out so we can take out these cabals, man. When I say cabals, I'm talking about people in power, people that are creating viruses. Well, I'm going to get into that eventually. We ain't got enough time, but
not right now.
Yeah, we ain't got near enough time, but there's a lot of good information behind this coronavirus stuff that it's not a conspiracy. It's not. There's even the scientists and stuff are saying, hey, this looks man-made. There's something wrong about this.
Totally.
Yeah, so get prepared, armor up,
You saw what I posted on Facebook, right? There was a thing of Lysol that has on the bottom of it what the bacteria is that it'll kill. Dude, it had human coronavirus written on it from 5 years ago.
What? No, I didn't see that.
Take a look at it on my thing. Yeah, it's on I posted it on my Facebook. I'm surprised I haven't been shadow banned yet, considering the stuff that I freaking post.
Yeah, right. I don't. That's probably yeah. I mean, that's probably why I didn't see it because there's a lot of stuff I don't see that they never let me see ever.
Ever.
Never. So tomorrow night, I don't know if you guys want to go into the Red Book some more. I think we kind of should, but I don't want to do it the whole show because it gets kind of daunting. And, it gets crazy. That book gets crazier the deeper we go into it.
We can give him a breather.
I think we should, man.
We'll give him a breather.
I think we should, because that is some deep stuff,
was pretty
dude.
heavy. Yeah, it was heavy, man.
I love it, though, right? It's just, I don't know if, might make it for subscribers or something.
It's very cerebral, which is great, because that's, our audience was really awesome. They were like eating it up.
Yeah.
Which was surprising, pleasantly.
Yeah. Well, let's roll out of here, brother. Let's get on out.
All righty.
Listen, don't copy the show without written permission. You guys know that stuff, right? Big shout out to Amelia for coming on the show, and to Daniel Joseph for letting us reschedule that show from last night. Also, big shout out to Pacho for making all of this happen and booking our guests. And I am Mandala for helping. Barbara, who am I thinking? Oh, yeah, you. Big shout out to you. The Reverend Dan Lopez, Eric Markham, Jeremy Scott. We'll see you guys tomorrow night for Open Lines.
Thank you.
Same time, same channel. Good night. Man.